2 minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
To infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
From the palatial yet not overly ostentatious studios of the Infinity Sports Network here in beautiful New York City, sitting on top of the 10th floor of 345 Hudson Street. Welcome on in to another week and a Monday edition of the Zach Gelb Show across all the great local Infinity Sports Network affiliates, Sirius XM, Channel 375, the free Odyssey app, and as always, streaming live on YouTube. 888-710-4ISN is the number to jump on in. That's 888-710-4476. You could always get at me on Instagram, where I'm straight flexing, or via the good old cesspool of Twitter at Zach Gelb. That's ZACHGELB. All righty, let's not bury the lead. Let's get right to it. What transpired Thursday into Friday, Friday into Saturday, is the most stunning thing I've ever seen in the history of the NFL draft. You could think of Laramie Tunsil dropping because of the gas mask. You could think of Aaron Rodgers and Brady Quinn waiting in the green room. But Shedeur Sanders not only falling out of the first round, but then out of the second round, then out of the third round, then out of the fourth round. When we were going into the fifth round, quite frankly, actually, I'll start even before that. When day 2 wrapped up and he didn't go in the second or the third round, I said to myself, is he ever going to get drafted? Like, the Raiders had back-to-back picks towards the end of the third round. I think they were like 98 and 99. They didn't take him there. And when the Raiders didn't take him there, I said, I don't think he's going. And let me be clear. I am pro Shedeur. I understand Shedeur Sanders isn't the most talented quarterback I've ever seen. I don't look at Shedeur Sanders as someone that's going to be elite. That is going to definitely be an all-pro. That's definitely going to be a multiple-time Pro Bowler. I've just said Shedeur Sanders is the second-best quarterback in this draft class. Shedeur Sanders is a good quarterback, and he did more with less throughout his entire college journey. And I did think he was going to go in the first round. But going into Thursday, it did feel as if it was Steelers or nothing at 21. And people said going into this draft, if he falls past the Steelers at 21, it could be a long wait. Even the people that said that never in their right mind would have predicted that Shedeur Sanders would have fell to day 3 and would have been a 5th-round pick at number 144 overall. It was inconceivable. And I will raise my hand and I will say I got something wrong. I was quick to dismiss, because you see so much character assassination leading into the draft. I was ready to dismiss that one report about his interview from the longtime NFL assistant that said it was the worst interview he's ever been a part of. I had multiple people when I was trying to make sense of this on Friday. Because Friday when I was really stunned. Like, I was surprised on Thursday that he didn't go in the first round. I was stunned when I was sitting in my couch Friday evening. The second round did come and go. The third round did come and go. And Shedeur Sanders was going to end up being a day 3 pick if he was going to get drafted. And I started hitting some of my connects around the league. I actually had some people see my commentary on social media, and they reached out to me. And to the 4 or 5 sources, people that ended up reaching out to me, they all said the same thing. Entitled, horrible interview, and in this process did not come off as likable. So I will admit that was a mischaracterization by me leading into the draft, because I was so ready to dismiss and so quickly did dismiss these reports that were anonymous. But after the people that reached out to me and the people that I talked to and discussed how he didn't handle this draft process well, and they used the words entitled, they said horrible interview, didn't come off as likable, I trust those people. And I'm still a Shedeur Sanders fan. I still think the Cleveland Browns got a steal in the 5th round. I still think he's going to be someone that at some point this year for the Cleveland Browns, with their crazy quarterback room of Deshaun Watson, who's never going to play again for the Browns, Joe Flacco, who got the team to the playoffs 2 years ago, and then because they were careful of Deshaun Watson's feelings, which is so stupid, they let him go to Indianapolis, and now Joe Flacco's back. You look at Kenny Pickett, who's been a failed first-round pick and has bounced around the league. Dillon Gabriel, who I had as the 4th best quarterback. This is not me crapping on Dillon Gabriel. I have him as 4th best quarterback in this draft class, but I had Shedeur Sanders as 2. Dillon Gabriel's in that quarterback room. He went before Shedeur Sanders. And then you do have Shedeur Sanders in that quarterback room. Those are the 5 guys. When the season gets ready to get underway, they'll probably take 3 quarterbacks into the season. Some teams only do 2. But whether it is the combination of Joe Flacco, Dillon Gabriel, and Shedeur Sanders, or maybe Joe Flacco gets cut and it's Kenny Pickett, Dillon Gabriel, and Shedeur Sanders. Like, whatever the combination is, I do think it is inevitable at some point in the year of 2025, as the Cleveland Browns are not going to be a good team. I do think that we'll see Shedeur Sanders not only start a game for the Cleveland Browns, but multiple games for the Cleveland Browns. Because if you ask me, Zach, if you look at what's appeasing, is it appealing to see Joe Flacco now start for the Cleveland Browns? Sorry, folks, it's not. Last year, it would have been off what he did 2 years ago, but now 2 years later, no, it's not. Do I need to see Kenny Pickett, Chris in California, get this incredible opportunity with the Cleveland Browns? No, I do not. Even someone like Deshaun Watson, do I need to see him play again for the Cleveland Browns? No. His career's over. Not only his Cleveland Browns career, his career is over. I don't need to see a washed-up Deshaun Watson, who hasn't been great in this league since 2019, take another snap for the Cleveland Browns. You want to tell me Dillon Gabriel? Okay, I could live with that. But the only one that I'm really sitting there waiting in great anticipation to see start eventually for the Cleveland Browns this year is Shedeur Sanders. Now, I think multiple things could be true in the Shedeur Sanders process. And a lot of people are trying to justify why he fell to the 5th round, or not even justify, just explain it. All right? Because you could have a horrible interview process. You could be entitled. You could come off as not likable. But the fact is, and this is coming from someone that is a Shedeur Sanders fan. This is coming from someone that believes Shedeur Sanders could be good. But clearly, the evaluation on Shedeur Sanders was not a first-round talent. Even though I think he's a first-round talent, multiple people do not think he's a first-round talent. So, if you're not viewed as a first-round talent, and you take the process leading up to the draft, which is so crucial, whether you like it or not, and you basically take it as one big joke, and you're trying to dictate it on your terms. And let's be real. I know there's not a lot of teams that we look at and we go, we feel great about their quarterback situation, but they have quarterbacks on the roster. And they have guys that they are viewed as starting quarterbacks in this league. And we were talking about it before the draft. Could it be the Browns? Could it be the Giants? Could it be the Raiders? Could it be the Steelers? Could it be the Saints? There was only really 5 teams that we were talking about that were going to go for Shedeur Sanders. And when you have a select amount of teams and a limited amount of teams, and you have a quarterback that is not a must-have talent, a good talent, but not a must-have talent, and you take this interview process, you take this draft process as one big joke, okay, I'm still not going to say I understand why he fell to the 5th round, but now I understand why he fell out of the 1st round, and there weren't teams ready jumping up and down like fat kids in a candy store to really draft him the rest of the way. Now, with that being said, I think the Browns got a steal. The Browns got someone that I view as a first-round talent, someone that I view as a good quarterback in the 5th round. We were talking about him potentially going number 2 overall at one point to Cleveland. Cleveland got him in the 5th round at pick 144 overall. So that's a heck of a risk. I mean, that's a heck of a steal. It's a low risk. I know Shedeur Sanders is more than a 5th round pick, but he was a 5th round pick. So if, let's say, he's out of line, let's say if he doesn't take the job serious or the competition serious, you cut him, he's gone. And that's it. So I actually commend Cleveland. I know a lot of people say, why they take Dylan Gabriel? And then why they take Shedeur Sanders? So a team that has that at a quarterback in, I don't know, like forever, you had 2 extra quarterbacks to the roster? In an offseason when you already added Joe Flacco and you already added Kenny Pickett? I don't even know if Cleveland has a guy there. But if any of those guys are going to be the guy one day in Cleveland, I'm going to hitch my wagon to the Shedeur Sanders bandwagon there, and I'm going to say it's Shedeur. So I think what you saw happen here was someone that we overrated, right? And also, this was someone that the NFL probably viewed as more of a 2nd or a 3rd round pick. But because of the fact he didn't take the pre-draft process how one usually is supposed to take it, and he didn't take it that seriously, and he tried to do it on his terms, that's why a lot of teams were turned off by Shedeur Sanders. In a year where, let's be real, when we were talking about teams that we expected to take quarterbacks, it was the Browns, it was the Giants, it was the Saints, it was the Steelers, and also the Raiders. It wasn't as if it was like 10 teams that we were expecting to take quarterbacks. So when you have basically 5 teams and you don't go about things the right way, it turns teams off. And eventually one team did take him, and that was the Cleveland Browns. But I'll tell you, when this process was playing on out, and it was the 3rd round, and the Raiders take Darian Porter, they take Caleb Rogers, they take Charles Grant, I'm sitting there saying, why not the Raiders? Even a team like the Steelers, right? Isn't that the perfect environment for Shedeur? You have a coach that's no nonsense in Mike Tomlin, well-respected in this league. You don't really have a quarterback on the roster. And don't tell me Mason Rudolph. I know Aaron Rodgers is probably coming. But they take Caleb Johnson in the 3rd round. I like the fit of Jack Sawyer. But in the 4th round, would you rather have an edge rusher? Or would you rather have someone like Shedeur Sanders? And I know Captain Jack had a wonderful career at Ohio State, but I'd rather have Shedeur Sanders. Even the Saints I'll criticize. You're telling me Tyler Shuck, who's, 25? You take him at 40? And you don't take Shedeur? You don't want to take Shedeur Sanders at 9? That's fine. You don't want to take him at 40? And yes, at least the Giants went through the process, evaluated their guy, traded back up into the 1st round to go get Jackson Dart. I watched a lot of Jackson Dart this past year. I watched a lot of Shedeur Sanders. Shedeur Sanders was a better quarterback. But you look at the quarterback position, there's no right way to evaluate it. How many times do we think someone's going to be great, like a Jamarcus Russell, and he stinks? How many times did people think someone's going to be bad, or they're not talking about this quarterback leading up to the draft process, like a Patrick Mahomes, and they go on to be one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time? Tom Brady at 199 overall. I remember debating people when I first got to this network why Lamar Jackson should be given a fair opportunity in the NFL, because I believed in Lamar Jackson. Now he's a multiple-time MVP award winner. He didn't go to 32. But still, you look at all these guys that did fall. that had expectations, because Brady didn't have expectations coming out of college. But you look at it like a guy like Aaron Rodgers that fell late into the first round. You look at a guy like Brady Quinn that fell late into the first round. They didn't fall to the third round. They didn't fall to the fourth round. They didn't fall to the fifth round. All right, you fall to the second round, it happens, right? Will Levis a few years ago was projected to go in the top 10, even though I wasn't buying that. He fell to the second round. So it happens. Shedeur fell to the fifth round. And I'll just say this, and some people will like this, some people won't. I don't think there's a lot of areas where we could talk about race in sports and they're fair conversations. I don't think this was a race issue. I'll just put that on the record with Shedeur Sanders. I don't think this was a race issue. And people have made it into a race issue. I'm not surprised by that. I don't think this was a race issue. I think it's very simple. Shedeur is a good talent. Shedeur is a good player. He's not an elite player. He's not a must-have player. He's not a great player. And I like Shedeur. I've said this 9,000 times. I thought the Browns, the Giants should have taken him in the first round, right? I think he could be a good quarterback in this league. But Shedeur Sanders clearly went through this pre-draft process thinking he didn't need to do it. And he was greatly mistaken and he miscalculated because he came off from multiple people that I talked to as entitled, as a bad interview. And he came off as unlikable. And this is coming from someone that didn't want to believe that. This is coming from someone that likes Shedeur and wants to see Shedeur succeed. So what happened, happened. Now what are you going to do with your opportunity, Shedeur? Because you go to Cleveland as a fifth-round pick. You're not your usual fifth-round pick. You will have great jersey sales. You will have great attention. You will have many people wondering what's going to happen to you. But if you dog it like you did the pre-draft process, guess what? You'll be in and out of the league real quick. So I hope this is a learning experience for Shedeur. And I hope Shedeur Sanders puts his head down. And then when you accomplish things in the NFL, then let's see that bright smile. Then you rub it in everybody's face. Then you tell everybody how great it is. But you landed in a spot in Cleveland, and I know that's where quarterbacks usually go to die, but you got a golden opportunity. You do. Because that's a team that hasn't had a franchise quarterback in forever. And right now, when you take a look at what's on the Cleveland Browns at the quarterback position, it's a washed-up Deshaun Watson and a broken-down Deshaun Watson. It's Joe Flacco, who's closing in on the retirement home. It's Kenny Pickett, who's been a bust in the NFL as a first-round pick to the Steelers, then was on the Eagles, and now's in Cleveland. I may not even make the roster. You got Dylan Gabriel, who had a good college career, but you're better than him. So go ball out. Go put in the work. Go do what you've done. You got humbled a little bit, and then go on a middle finger FU tour. That's what I want to see. Because I'll be rooting for Shedeur. I want to see Shedeur succeed. But let's stop sitting here and thinking to ourselves that, the NFL screwed Shedeur. Unfortunately, in this process, Shedeur didn't take it as seriously as he should have, and he screwed himself. Now, it's still ludicrous to me that he went in the fifth round. Right? I thought he should have been a first-round pick. But how you don't take him in the third round at least? A fourth round? That's surprising to me, but it speaks volumes to the way and the poor way that Shedeur really approached this process. Now, let's hear from Shedeur Sanders because he did do a little press conference with the Cleveland media. I'll play you one clip here. And Shedeur Sanders straight up asked, were there any regrets with the pre-draft process? This is, I guess, one of the newest quarterbacks of the Cleveland Browns in Shedeur Sanders.
Do I have any regrets? I feel like in life, it's always a way I can improve. So it's always in different areas I'm able to improve. And some things that, I could have done at the time that seemed right at the time, I could have went about it a different way. And that was like more during the season and stuff like that.
So more during the season and stuff like that. So maybe that was throwing his offensive lineman under the bus. Maybe it was not shaking hands with an opposing team's quarterback afterwards, or whatever happened with that ball boy that you've seen that video on the sideline numerous times. But that means you don't get it right now. And that's a little concerning because I hear that quote, right? I read that quote, and I was like, yeah, I have regrets. But then more during the season. I don't think what happened during the season is why you fell to the fifth round. I don't. I think it's what happened in February, March, in April. And here's something. It's one thing to say, I messed up. It's one thing to say, I could have been better. But do you actually mean it? And if Shedeur actually means it and puts action to those words, then he'll go on to have a very successful career. If he just brushes it off and just goes, man, the NFL screwed me. Man, they messed me up. They went after me because my dad is Coach Prime. Or whatever you want to make the excuse for, whether you believe it or not, then he's not going to succeed. And we've seen quarterbacks who are a lot more accomplished than Shedeur before. Like, look at Cam Newton. And I used to be a big defender of Cam. I was. Like, people used to get on him, like, for giving footballs to children after he would score touchdowns. The dumbest thing I've ever talked about. But when the Carolina Panthers said enough with Cam, or we're moving on from Cam, and Cam's, because his body was broken down and he wasn't a great thrower of the football anymore, he was viewed as a backup quarterback. And sometimes when your backup quarterback has a huge personality, you could upstage the starting quarterback, even if the starting quarterback is better. And a lot of times that's when the league says, thanks, but no thanks, we're done. We're done with you. And Shedeur has that personality. Everywhere Shedeur goes, he's going to have that following. Right? Look at a Tim Tebow. And I didn't think Tim Tebow was that. I thought he should have been a tight end, quite frankly. But you don't get that many opportunities after your first one if you have that big presence and people think you're a backup. Right now, I don't think Shedeur is a backup. I think Shedeur could be a starter. I think Shedeur will be starting games eventually for Cleveland. But he's viewed as not only a backup in Cleveland, way down the depth chart. And if Shedeur kind of keeps a low profile now, if he does what the Browns ask of him, he should be able to beat out a Kenny Pickett. He should be able to beat out a Dylan Gabriel. He should be able to beat out Joe Flacco, who is a well-respected quarterback, won a Super Bowl MVP, but we saw what Joe did last year in Indianapolis, and it wasn't pretty. Question is, will Shedeur put his head down, and will he go do the work? If he does, and if he does the antithesis of this draft process, then he'll go on to have a good career. If he doesn't, he'll be in and out of the league real quick. It is Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network, 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. When we come on back, who are some players that were drafted with the most pressure on them now moving forward, since we know where they're landing and what team they're now on? Take a timeout. Coming on back after these short messages on the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to the Zach Gelb Show.
All right, it is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. The conversation continues about the most talked about 144th pick in the history of the NFL draft. And that is Shedeur Sanders. He did go in the 5th round, 144 overall. You know, maybe we should look up the history of pick 144 and see if there's any notable players. I'm sure in the history of the NFL there has to be someone that ended up having a very good career that was picked at 144 overall. But stunning how Shedeur Sanders fell all the way to the 5th round. I saw our buddy Andrew Filipponi, the Pony Express. He got the odds on who will be the Cleveland Browns Week 1 starting quarterback. Now, Deshaun Watson, he's not on the board because he's not expected A, to ever play for Cleveland again, and B, he's not going to be healthy enough to play come Week 1. So out of Dillon Gabriel, Kenny Pickett, Joe Flacco, and Shedeur Sanders, Samter, how do you think you would rank it? Best odds to worst odds to start for the Cleveland Browns Week 1. How would you rank it?
I would go Flacco 1, Pickett 2, Shedeur 3, and Dillon Gabriel 4.
I don't think you got one right.
Wow.
Yeah. You want to try, Botcher? Go ahead.
So it's not Flacco first.
That would be accurate.
Okay. I'm going to go Shedeur 1, Flacco 2, Gabriel 3, Pickett 4.
In at number 4 at plus 1,200. And do me a favor, Chris in California, if you're listening, sit down. Just if you're driving, safely blinker, Chris in California, and pull off the side of the road. In at number 4 at plus 1,200, Joe Flacco.
What?
In at number 3 at plus 500, Dillon Gabriel. In at number 2 at plus 175, Shedeur Sanders. And in at number 1 at minus 110. Chris in California's BFF, Kenny freaking Pickett. So, sometimes we make a big deal on the odds. Other times, it's like, alrighty, what does it actually mean? I'm going to guess here. Maybe the thought of Kenny Pickett being number one is that they traded for him, and they'll probably end up bringing Shedeur Sanders and Dillon Gabriel on the roster since they just drafted Shedeur in the 5th round and Dillon Gabriel in the 3rd round. So maybe Shedeur and Dillon Gabriel have their spot solidified, and since the Browns just signed Joe Flacco, maybe that's the real competition. It's between Kenny Pickett and Joe Flacco, and maybe this is Vegas saying, oh, well, the Browns at least traded for Kenny Pickett, so that's why we're going to give him the early edge. Let me be clear. I'm just trying to make sense out of this. If you put a gun to my head right now and said, Zach, who's the Cleveland Browns starting quarterback week 1? It's going to be Joe Flacco. That would be my guess, Samter.
Yeah, like if you want to put Pickett over Flacco and have Pickett 1, Flacco 2, I would disagree, but at least I would understand it.
Well, it makes me think that Vegas is saying that either Kenny Pickett or Joe Flacco won't be on the roster.
Yes, but if I had to choose which one would not be on the roster, it would be Pickett. Like, if I'm the Browns and I have a bunch of young quarterbacks, I want Joe Flacco in there to be my veteran presence.
Sure.
So Flacco, to me, is guaranteed a spot on the Browns. Plus, he led them to the playoffs 2 years ago.
I wouldn't say it's
good.
a guarantee.
Not guaranteed, but I would imagine he's the most likely to be on the roster come the start of the season.
So also, can I play a little theory into this? Players don't take, coaches don't tank, but we know that Cleveland has 2 first-round picks already next year from the trade with the Jaguars. We know they didn't take a quarterback until the 3rd round. They took another quarterback that people think the owner made in the 5th round actually get the selection. Maybe this is Cleveland just saying, like what you're saying, Samter, logically, oh, you want Joe Flacco in the veteran presence. Maybe Cleveland just doesn't care about Kenny Pickett, Shedeur Sanders, or Dillon Gabriel. And maybe they're just saying, all right, if let's say Arch Manning does come out of college this year and for the 2026 draft or whoever's there, then they're going to take their guy next year. I think Cleveland's going to be real bad this year. I do. And from an intrigue factor, I said this earlier, I'll say it again. The only one I really want to see start this year, and there's going to be multiple people starting in Cleveland. Like, you'll probably start the year with Joe Flacco after a week, or not a week, after a month. People be like, all right, I've seen enough of Joe. The ship has sailed. Then they'll go to Kenny Pickett. Then it will be Shedeur. Maybe you'll get a little Dillon Gabriel. I would be surprised at this rate if you don't see 3 starting quarterbacks, bare minimum, for the Cleveland Browns at some point this year in some capacity. So those are the odds on who's going to start week 1 for the Cleveland Browns. Kenny Pickett at minus 110, Shedeur Sanders at plus 175, Dillon Gabriel plus 500, and Joe Flacco at plus 1,200. All right, let's do this. Non-Shedeur Sanders players with the most pressure off the draft. We'll go around the room here. I will start off. I'm going to say Cam Ward, number 1 overall pick. I think Cam Ward was the best quarterback in this draft class. Tennessee has not had a true franchise quarterback since Steve McNair. You don't got a ton around him, but this is Tennessee saying you're going to be the savior of our franchise, so I put a lot of pressure on him. Samter, who's your first player with the most pressure?
To me, it's Ashton Jeanty. There's all this talk about running backs and this resurgence of running backs, and Ashton Jeanty's like a can't-miss prospect.
Yeah.
But we also still remember that running backs only have so much power in the game, and there's going to be all this pressure that the offense has to run through him. I think he's going to be fine, but it's a lot of pressure to put on a guy.
Yeah, will you have a Derrick Henry long career, or will you be Ezekiel Elliott where it's like, all right, 3 or 4 really good years, and then you flamed out rather quickly? Botcher, what do you got?
I got Abdul Carter with the Giants. Just a couple reasons. New York, 1. New York media is always tough on edge rushers, especially now with the media, how he asked Lawrence Taylor for his number 2 days in. He's getting flamed for that.
Not even 2 days in.
Not even 2 days, and he got denied.
An hour into being a Giant, he was on with Micah Parsons.
Yeah, so that's bad. And on top of that, he's dealing with injuries still. So I don't know if he's going to have a rough start to his career, a slow start. So there's a bunch of things that pile up there.
I'm going to go Travis Hunter. Look how much that the Jacksonville Jaguars gave up to go get Travis Hunter. And he is being compared to the Shohei Ohtani of the NFL, and the injuries and how his body's going to hold up. And I at least respect Jacksonville. They're getting this Ferrari, And they're not trying to just keep this Ferrari in the driveway or in the garage. They're saying, we're taking you for a full speed drive around the block and then some. We're going down the highway. We're going all over the state. We're going to go into other states as well, because they're basically saying, let it rip with Gladstone and Liam Cohen, which is a fascinating head coach and GM pairing after finding out about these guys' personalities. And they're going to basically try to go as hard as they can with him playing both ways as possible. So I will go Travis Hunter. Samter, next one.
I'm going to go with your favorite tight end in the draft, Colston Loveland. Not because
my favorite tight end is Tyler Warren.
I know, I was being sarcastic.
I'm well aware.
But because everyone thought that Tyler Warren was going to go first. So when Loveland went to the Bears with that offense, a young quarterback, those receivers, there's this expectation now that the Bears are going to take this step forward. And the fact that he got drafted before Tyler Warren, I think there's a lot of pressure on Loveland to produce and look good.
Botcher, next player.
I'm going to go Tedero McMillan with the Panthers, just because they really have nobody, and he's going to step in and be their day one wide receiver one. And there's questions still about his speed. You know, he's a good size receiver, but to be that number one guy for Bryce Young, he's got to step up. And Xavier Legette,
he's
Chuba
solid.
Hubbard,
No,
solid.
Xavier Legette to me is a number 2 wide receiver. I don't want to say Tet McMillan because his mother wouldn't like that. T-Mac, Tetora McMillan. He, to me, can be a number 1 wide receiver. There were some questions about how much does he actually love football, right? With him saying he doesn't like to watch the game and doesn't like to watch film. I like the pick. I would have gone Tyler Warren. I thought it was a safer pick for them. But you look at that team, you got a good running back in Chuba Hubbard. Bryce Young had a good season last year. And now you have a dress wide receiver in the last 2 drafts. This is going to be a big feel-out year for the Carolina Panthers, and you got a lot of answers early with the Carolina Panthers, especially at the quarterback position in a make-or-break year number 3. All righty, last one, James Pierce. This dude has an incredible upside. The ceiling is so high, and the Atlanta Falcons, who ended up getting him, in addition to getting Jalen Walker, they gave up a first-round pick next year in order to move back up in the draft to get James Pierce. That's a big boy move. Will it end up being like Will Anderson, right, which changed the Texans franchise, or it will be like, who was the guy, McKinley or whatever the guy was the last time the Falcons traded up to go get a pass rusher, Tack McKinley, I think his name was, who ended up not being worth it. So even though it was a great draft moment when he was on the stage bringing out the photo of his grandmother, if you remember, in the emotions, and unfortunately his grandmother at the time is no longer with us. But I will go James Pierce, a lot of pressure on him. Samter, final one.
I'm going Jackson Dart. All the expectations were Shedeur would be the number 2 quarterback. The Giants shocked everybody when they traded up and took Dart instead of Shedeur. So now the pressure, you got New York, you got the pressure of being picked ahead of Shedeur, and the Giants trading up. A lot of pressure on Jackson Dart.
Botcher, final one.
Tyler Shuck. He's going to step in and compete right away. He's basically pushing 30 already, and he's coming in. Derek Carr might not be in there at all this year. So he's got to, basically, if he doesn't get it this year against the rest of that Saints bad quarterback room, he's never going to get it.
So the way that I ranked the quarterbacks heading into this draft in the top 5 was 1 Cam Ward, 2 Shedeur Sanders. I then had in the 3rd spot Jalen Milroe. The 4th spot, I did go Dylan Gabriel. The 5th spot, Jackson Dart. And the first guy out I had was Kyle McCord. To see how these quarterbacks did go, Cam Ward 1, Jackson Dart 2, Tyler Shuck 3, and Dart was 25 overall, Ward number 1 overall. Tyler Shuck went 40th overall. Jalen Milroe then went late in the 3rd round, the 20th pick of the 3rd round. Dylan Gabriel then went in the 30th pick of the 3rd round, and then Shedeur Sanders did go in the 5th round, 144 overall. The fact we saw 5 quarterbacks go in front of Shedeur Sanders is crazy. Even if you were down on Shedeur, and I had him as QB2, some people had him as QB3, some had him as QB1, you would say probably he, at worst, would be the 3rd quarterback off the board. Right? Like after Cam Ward and Jackson Dart did go, you would think, oh, then it would be Shedeur Sanders. The fact that 5 quarterbacks went before him, I know him going in the 5th round is crazier. It's also crazier that 5 quarterbacks ended up going in front of him.
Hey, you know what? At least Perloff is happy. He was psyched when you put Dylan Gabriel in your top 5.
Yeah.
And so now he's pretty pumped, I'm sure, that he's the 5th quarterback taken before Shedeur.
But to Botcher's point, Tyler Shuck at 40, like, how do you not take Shedeur? The Seahawks, I could kind of get it because you just signed Sam Darnold and you're looking to develop a guy like Jalen Milroe, and that could be insurance. But to the Saints and the Seahawks, the Saints, excuse me, not taking Shedeur there, and the Raiders, how many times they passed on him, and the Steelers, how many times they passed on him. Those are the three teams. The Raiders, the Saints, and the Steelers are the ones that really jump out to me. All righty, we'll take a time out. This is Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. When we come on back, 15 non-first-round picks that I absolutely love. I'll do that on the other side. Update time first. Here's Zach.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
And it's sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Insurance for motorcycles, boats, and RVs for protection on the road and on the water. See how much you can save at 1-800-PROGRESSIVE and Progressive.com. The Bucks are down 3-1 to the Pacers and have lost Damian Lillard for the rest of the way, with ESPN reporting that tests confirmed initial reports of a torn Achilles for the soon-to-be 35-year-old. The Cavaliers have had an easy time in the first round of the playoffs. The top seed in the East have taken the first 3 games from the Heat, winning the last one by 37. With a long way to go in the postseason, Donovan Mitchell wants to leave nothing to chance and prefers to close out the series tonight.
Got to be greedy. Understanding that we're going to get their best shot. Like I said, they're a group that's always going to continue to fight, so we got to put up another effort like tonight, and continue to be, who we've been on the defensive end and offensive carryover.
The Game 3 loss for the Heat was their worst in franchise history in the postseason. The second part of tonight's doubleheader features the Rockets and Warriors in San Francisco. Golden State is a 2-1 series lead and hopes to have Jimmy Butler tonight. He missed Game 3 with a hip injury and is listed as questionable. And the Pittsburgh Penguins have fired head coach Mike Sullivan after 10 seasons and 2 Stanley Cups. I'm Rich Ackerman.
This is the Infinity Sports Network. Follow us on X. Our handle is INF Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 2 minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
You're listening to The Zach Gelb Show.
Alrighty, Zach Gelb Show, Infinity Sports Network. It's time to Ask the Pros, where you, the listener, gets to ask us a question brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Simply tweet your question at INF Sports Center at Zach Gelb using the hashtag Ask the Pros. Be listening later in the program. We might answer your question. Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get guaranteed low prices and excellent customer service from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Let's do this, because everyone on these shows, they just slobber over the first round picks, and then Shedeur, who did go in the 5th round. I will mention Shedeur in this segment, but I'm going to do 15 non-first round picks that I absolutely love in this draft. First one, Travion Henderson going to the Patriots. I really like the Patriots' approach in this draft. You get not only a left tackle, could be a left guard protecting Drake May. You also get a wide receiver, but you get another running back to complement Ramondre Stevenson. Travion Henderson had an excellent career at Ohio State. I am a fan of that draft pick by the Patriots. In at number 2, Luther Burden. So he ends up going the wide receiver from Missouri to the Chicago Bears. Botcher or Samter, one of you were talking about the first round pick for the Chicago Bears in Colston Loveland. You get a tight end and then a wide receiver in your first round pick and then your second round pick. That's once again more ammunition where there's no excuses for Caleb Williams. In at number 3, I like this story. I think he was a very good player at LSU. But Mason Taylor, who is Jason Taylor's son, Joy Taylor's nephew, but I think we'll more so say Jason Taylor's son. So Dolphins fans don't like this. But Jason Taylor is saying JTS, Jets. He played 1 year for the Jets. But it's funny now when people go, oh, former Jet Jason Taylor. No one ever thinks of Jason Taylor as a Jet. You think of the Pro Football Hall of Famer as a Miami Dolphin, but now his son goes to the New York Jets. And the Jets have put Justin Fields in a position to succeed. Now, we'll see if Justin Fields does that, but you beat up that offensive line, get an Armin Membu in the first round. You already have Garrett Wilson there. For now, you have Breece Hall there. And then you're going out and you get another tight end in Mason Taylor. I like that for Justin Fields. All righty, Will Johnson. I thought Will Johnson this time last year was going to be a top 5 pick. Unfortunately, ankle, leg injury, wasn't able to do much leading into the NFL draft process. But the Arizona Cardinals have our guy, Patrick Peterson, who's going to be in the Hall of Fame one day, announced the pick in the second round. That's a heck of a job by the Arizona Cardinals getting him. And you get Will Johnson on the defense side of the ball. I remember a year ago you got Marvin Harrison Jr., so a little Ohio State-Michigan rivalry right there. Another player who, if you were asking me this time last year, would he be a first-round pick, I would without hesitation say yes. That's Benjamin Morrison, who was with Notre Dame, a defensive back who ends up landing with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So you get the coaching prowess of one Todd Bowles being down there. But you look at a guy like Benjamin Morrison, if he didn't get hurt this year, he absolutely would have been a first-round pick. There was conversations who was going to be the first defensive back off the board this time last year. Would it be Will Johnson or Benjamin Morrison? So I thought that was tremendous value by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Mike Green, it is wild. And I know there were off-the-field concerns with Mike Green. But you look at the Baltimore Ravens. They get Malachi Starks in the first round, who fell to them. And then they get Mike Green, who falls to them in the second round. It's almost like whenever a defensive player goes later than expected, the Baltimore Ravens are always there to gobble them up. I'll tell you this. I think this is an excellent pick. I thought this guy at one point, he was at Coastal Carolina, then wrapped up his college career at Michigan. He could have been a fringe first-round pick. A fringe first-round pick. But Josiah Stewart, I thought, was an excellent draft pick by the LA Rams. And the Rams, they know how to draft young defensive players. Just look last year, Jared Verse, Braden Fisk, first round, second round. Both of those guys were excellent. I think that Josiah Stewart is going to fit in just a perfect fashion for that young Rams defense with Young and Turner also on it. That's a really good defense that they're starting to develop in Los Angeles. Jalen Milroe going to the Seahawks. Jalen Milroe, he's got to find a middle game. It's all or nothing for him. It's either your head will hit the ceiling or you will just crash onto the floor. And I know the Seahawks may not use him this way. I think they should. I would give him some packages early on, especially at the goal line. But it's not a guarantee that Sam Darnold's going to be a lock. Like, to me, Sam Darnold's a 3-year contract, but with how the guaranteed money is, I think this is really a 1-year deal. Where if you don't feel great about Sam at the end of this deal, maybe you move on for him. Maybe you still give him another year. But I don't think it's a lock that Sam Darnold gets through all 3 years in Seattle. And having a guy like Jalen Milroe, where there's not a lot of hype about in terms of, we need to see him play right away, but there's a tremendous amount of talent, I think that's a good spot to really develop and kind of to be in obscurity as a backup quarterback. And if Sam Darnold isn't all that, then you'll get your opportunity. Xavier Watts at Notre Dame. Him landing to the Atlanta Falcons, I think that's an excellent draft pick. Remember, he won the Bronco Nagurski Award back in 2023. This dude just makes plays after play after play. If there's a way to find a football, Xavier Watts will find the football. I thought the safety landing in Atlanta, very good pickup there by the Atlanta Falcons. Cam Scatterbo going to the Giants. I'll give credit to the Giants. I would have gone Shedeur over Jackson Dart, but you also get Abdul Carter. You got someone in the third round on the defensive line that could have been a second-round pick or maybe even a late first-round pick. They were saying Cam Scatterbo, he is phenomenal. That dude is a football player, and he is all about toughness. Him landing with the New York Giants, you compliment him with Tyrone Tracy, I thought was a very good 1-2 punch. Deion Walker did not have a good year at Kentucky. He didn't have a great year at Kentucky. And there were some times where he was missing. Now, he had this back injury, which I read more about the other day or two. But Deion Walker was projected as a top 15 talent before the start of the college football season. And the Bills got him way late. That's a pick that I think we're going to see immediate impact right away in Buffalo. The Eagles, Ty Robinson. This dude, watch him play. I saw him play more than a few times at Nebraska. I saw him play twice in person in the last 2 years. And also, sometimes they use him on the offensive side of the ball to be a fullback. Imagine him being a part of the tush push. This dude is a monster, and you put him on the same defensive line as Jalen Carter, the rich get richer in Philadelphia. Jack Sawyer. Now, I thought that the Steelers should have picked Shedeur Sanders there, but you get Jack Sawyer. He's just made for the Pittsburgh Steelers. He really is. And he gets to learn from guys like TJ Watt and Highsmith, too. I thought that was a really good pick late in the fourth round by the Pittsburgh Steelers. Obviously, the fifth round, Shedeur Sanders winding up with the Cleveland Browns at 144 overall. That's going to be something that's going to be fascinating to watch, and I do think we'll see Shedeur Sanders start multiple games this year for the Cleveland Browns. You get someone that most of us thought was going to go in the first round, and at the absolute latest, the second round, you get him in the fifth round. Tremendous value there by the Cleveland Browns. And finally, I'm going to go Devin Neal, a running back out of Kansas, going to the New Orleans Saints. You look at his career, he had 3 1,000-yard rushing seasons at Kansas, and also he doesn't have the most receptions out of the backfield, but he's capable of doing that. I think that's a guy that could be a sneaky good pick, especially if Alvin Kamara deals with some injuries with Who Dat Nation. So those are 15 players that didn't go in the first round that when those selections were made, I just absolutely loved them. Travion Henderson, Luther Burden, Mason Taylor, Will Johnson, Benjamin Morrison, Mike Green, Josiah Stewart, Jalen Milroe, Xavier Watts, Cam Scattaboo, Deion Walker, Ty Robinson, Jack Sawyer, Shedeur Sanders, and Devin Neal. All righty, let's take a timeout. It is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. When we come on back, Samter's done a little homework. He has taken a look at the greatest 144 picks in NFL draft history. So who was pick number 144? Because that's always going to be associated with the greatest fall in the history of the draft. Because that's what Shedeur Sanders is now, going all the way to the fifth round, all the way to day 3, all the way to pick 144 overall. So we'll look at that on the other side. And also, we're not going to go through every quarterback taken, but we'll go through expectations year 1 for some of these quarterbacks when we come on back in 5 minutes. Zach Gelb Show, Infinity Sports Network, 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. Also on social media, Twitter and Instagram, at Zach Gelb, ZACHGELB.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 2 minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show.
Alrighty, how we doing? Hour number 2 of our radio program. It is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. Our first show since the NFL draft did come and go, and it's basically been the Shedeur Sanders show. Somehow, some way, Shedeur Sanders fell all the way to the 5th round, pick 144 overall. So that's going to be a pick that's iconic. That's going to be one where whenever you talk about the greatest falls in the history of the draft, the tippy top of that list now is going to be Shedeur Sanders with the position he plays. No matter if you loved him or you can't stand him, no one, and I mean no one, thought he was going to fall to the 5th round and be the 144th pick overall. But that's the case, and now he has an opportunity in Cleveland, and we'll see if he's going to be able to right that wrong. And we'll see when he gets to work if he could really put his head down and if he could be a quarterback in this league that I think he can be. And you hear a lot from the pre-draft process, even someone that's been a fan of Shedeur Sanders, people I've talked to, he came off as entitled, he came off as a horrible interview, didn't take it seriously, and came off as unlikable in these interviews. So when you have basically 5 teams that we really consider could have been Shedeur Sanders' destinations going into the draft, the Giants, the Browns, the Saints, the Steelers, the Raiders, I'm not saying I get why he fell to the 5th round, but it's not as many teams that you think. And therefore, once he fell past the Steelers at 21, you knew it was going to be a far fall. I didn't think, though, you would have finally hear a thud, though, in the 5th round. I thought it would have been a lot sooner. Probably the 2nd, or even at worst, the 3rd round. But here we are. Shedeur Sanders goes to Cleveland, and he'll be in a quarterback room with, I guess you could say, Deshaun Watson. I don't think Deshaun plays again for the Cleveland Browns. But then Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett, and Dylan Gabriel, who was picked before him in the 3rd round. We'll do expectations for these quarterbacks coming up in just a second. But before we do that, Samter, there are certain draft picks, right? Number 1 overall is always one that we have 3,000 guys that you talk about that were either successful or were bust. Whenever pick 199 is made, it gets associated with one player and one player only. That's Tom Brady. Mr. Irrelevant, That's starting to be talked about as the Brock Purdy pick, but there's always a big celebration that goes on with Mr. Irrelevant. At least in the next 5 years, if not maybe forever. Because now, if he goes on to be a bust, maybe it's not as talked about as much. But when we talk about the greatest falls in the history of the draft, you think of a Laramie Tunsil with the gas mask. You think of Brady Quinn. You think of Aaron Rodgers. But no way did anyone think that Shedeur was going to fall to the 5th round. So 144 is going to become really an iconic pick. It's going to be one that when we ever talk about it, it's going, oh, that's where Shedeur fell to in the draft. Sam, to give me some other players, because you looked this up, I haven't seen this yet, that are well-known and a little history about pick 144 overall.
All right, well, we'll actually go back just a couple of years, back to 2022.
Ooh, really? Oh, give me a hint then.
North Carolina.
North Carolina
Was just traded.
Oh, Sam Howell.
Sam Howell was picked 144. Now, obviously, he hasn't...
He ain't any good, though.
No, but, I mean, he's a name that we recognize, went to 144.
He got traded to the Vikings, right?
That is correct.
Okay.
Yeah, he's going to be the starter there in Minnesota.
Okay, but that's not an ooh and ah name yet. But who else do we got?
Not an ooh and ah name. There's not really a lot of ooh and ah names. There's one
Now
big
hold
name.
on. But Sam Howell at one point was thought to be potentially the first overall pick of the draft.
Exactly.
Then he lost, I think it was 2 running backs. And then I think it was Michael Carter and Javonte Williams. And then he lost like his wide receivers too. And he came back and didn't have that special of a season. And he fell all the way to the 5th round pick, 144 overall. All right, what else we got cooking on 144?
Then we've got the Jaguars in 2014 taking Telvin Smith, who made a Pro Bowl, and he was a second-team All-Pro in 2017. Kenny Stills to the Saints in 2013. We also have for the Jets, 1993 one-time Pro Bowler Richie Anderson, fullback/running back, and then the best player ever drafted at 144.
Best player ever drafted, what era?
70s.
70s. Is this guy in the Hall of Fame or just multiple-time All-Pro?
He is a Hall of Famer.
Ooh, can I get a hint?
He was he was a defensive player.
Okay.
On a team that had a very memorable and famous nickname.
Minnesota?
Close, but no.
Pittsburgh?
Nope. Think of the defenses in the 70s and 80s. More 80s.
All right, give it to me. Go ahead.
From the New York Sack Exchange,
New York Sack Exchange.
Yes.
And it wasn't Gastineau.
It was not.
Okay. I just want to make sure. You always want to get Gastineau his credit because
yes. Otherwise, he's going to come approach
you. He will attack you
on
and cry. All right, give me the player.
Joe Klecko.
Joe
Klecko picked 144 back in 1977. Temple U.
A Temple Owl. How about that? A Hall of Famer. Inducted, I think, 2 years ago, Joe Klecko. Wow. Look at that. Joe Klecko, 144 overall, a Temple Owl, a Zach Gelb connection.
Who would have thought Shedeur Sanders and Joe Klecko in the same sentence?
Joe Klecko also originally did not want Aaron Rodgers on the New York Jets. I remember he said that with me, and that made some national headlines. By the way, we have made a lot of national headlines for this network. Whether it was Magic Johnson sounding off on Steph Curry, whether it was Bob Wiley revealing to us on this network that he got fired by Freddie Kitchens while he was in a hospital bed. Whether it was Deebo Samuel hanging up the phone on me. Whether it was Warren Sapp storming off this show. But Kobe White at the NBA draft, the wow, that's crazy, bro moment. We have made a lot of big headlines here. And I mean, like, I'm going to toot my own horn here. There's not a show in the history of the network that has consistently made more national headlines than the shows that I've been on. In terms of whether it's guests, things I say, things along those lines. I read an article over the weekend. And let me tell you, it's the most proud I've ever been for making a headline. It's not the biggest headline that we've ever made. But this headline is just awesome because it fits into what we do here. We are a sports talk show. Right? We give you opinions. We give you the hard-hitting sports news. I'll yell. I'll call people idiot, morons, and dopes. We'll have fun, though, right? I don't take myself too seriously. I'm not one of these hosts that gets so bent out of shape if someone says something and they don't like it about them or whatever. After Deion Walker got drafted, because I always think content never dies, right? You have content out there. and then I love to repurpose content. So I've been fortunate enough to talk to a lot of these players that got drafted. So like when Cam Ward got drafted, I threw something up about my interview that I did with him in 2023. When Ashton Jeanty got drafted, I threw something up about us interviewing Ashton Jeanty in September. When Jalen Lane, who we just had on a few weeks ago, got drafted by the Commanders, I threw something up. Joe Thomas, his opinion on Shedeur Sanders when Shedeur Sanders got drafted. So when Deion Walker got drafted, and he's the big defensive lineman from Kentucky who we had on in our college football fix segment, which will be starting up in 2 weeks, where we go around from team to team around the nation and get you ready for the college football season. I identified Deion Walker, and I thought he could be a top 15 pick. Unfortunately, he did not go anywhere close to being a top 15 pick in the draft because of injuries, and he didn't have the greatest season this year. So, Deion Walker, this is just me getting lucky. That's what it is. He goes to Buffalo. What's the one thing that I ask almost every draft prospect about? And it's a big character flaw if you answer ranch. Ranch or blue cheese? So I did a quick search of Deion Walker. And Deion Walker had the audacity on this show. His words, not mine, folks. I had wings yesterday. Smother those bad boys in blue cheese. But Deion Walker said that blue cheese tastes like sour milk. So when he got drafted, I repurposed the clip. And that's in Buffalo, where it's not ranch or blue cheese in Buffalo. It's where do you get your wings, right? Because everyone knows bone in, none of that boneless crap in Buffalo, and you smother those bad boys in blue cheese. So this was the headline from the Sports Illustrated affiliate in Buffalo. Bills' new defensive tackle might offend Buffalo with take on blue cheese. Deion Walker was an excellent selection for the Bills, even if he doesn't appreciate blue cheese as he should. Walker joins Wildcat teammate Maxwell Hairston, who was Buffalo's first-round pick. Between Hairston and Walker, the Bills also added defensive tackle TJ Sanders, defensive end Landon Jackson. Not only is Walker the second defensive tackle, but he's also their second pick to admit he doesn't like blue cheese. Walker, however, went as far as to say it tastes like spoiled milk. It's my favorite headline that we've ever made. Me ripping the dumb manager the Pirates for pulling Paul Skeens, Debo hanging up on us, Warren Sapp walking off, Aaron Donald not answering my questions about swinging a helmet in joint practices, Bob Wiley, McNabb, like whatever headlines we have made. Kobe White, nothing for me will top. Myles Garrett at the Super Bowl, nothing will top. Micah Parsons, Deion Walker, in an interview over a year ago with us, which is a horrible, and I mean an offensive take, saying blue cheese tastes like sour milk. So I actually did this during the draft, folks. I texted the GM of the Buffalo Bills, Brandon Beane, who has been on this show many times. And this was my text to Brandon Beane. And he got back to me. I said, love the Walker pick. Thought he could have been a first rounder this time last year. Tell him, though, to leave his trash opinion about ranch at home, though. And think about poor Deion Walker. He gets drafted. This goes and pops up in Buffalo. And now he got asked, actually, on the conference call about his opinion of blue cheese tasting like sour milk. So, Deion Walker, we wish you a heck of a career, but nothing, and I mean nothing, am I more proud about in my career that we became a headline of an interview that was done in May. It was done in May, 13th in 2024, so about a year ago. And it was an interview with Deion Walker when he revealed that he likes ranch over blue cheese. And that's what they're criticizing him about. Great draft pick, but horrible food opinion by Deion Walker. All righty, let's do this. We'll look at the quarterbacks here. Year one expectations. I'll give you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 year one expectations. Isn't it wild for a quarterback draft class where everyone's like, oh, it's not that deep, it's not that good. We had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 13 quarterbacks go. 13 quarterbacks ended up getting drafted. Isn't that crazy? In a quarterback draft class, everyone's like, yeah, it's not that good. Now, we only had 1, 2, 3 go in the second round. 5 go by round number 3. 6 go by the 5th round. And they really came off the board round 6 and on to the end of the draft in round 7. Year 1 expectations, though. Cam Ward should start week 1 and should be an offensive rookie of the year candidate. Jackson Dart. I agree with Mark Ross, who joined us on Friday. He's going to have to play in year 1 because I don't think the quarterback room in the year of 2025 is strong enough in New York with Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston to hold Jackson Dart off the field. And also, Joe Shane and Brian Daboll need to get something out of Dart because I don't think the Giants are going to be that good, but to put them in position to save their job. I think that we'll see Jackson Dart starting games for the Giants by November at the absolute latest. Tyler Shuck, Botcher said it. He could start week 1. Now, who knows what's going on with Derek Carr's shoulder? You got Spencer Rattler on that roster, so he could maybe just start, but it's not as if Tyler Shuck is getting any younger. He's 25. He'll be 26 by the end of September. So maybe he could be their week 1 starter. That would be my expectation if I'm a Saints fan. Jalen Milroe. My expectations for him for this year is he's insurance for Sam Darnold. If Sam Darnold stinks up the joint and goes back to mono Sam, seeing ghost Sam, or if Sam Darnold gets hurt, Jalen Milroe could see the field sooner than we expected with the Seattle Seahawks. I'm going to give you Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders. I think both could start by October or early November at the absolute latest. Because I think the Browns are going to have to make a decision here. Because I would be surprised if they cut Shedeur. And I don't think you're taking a quarterback in the 3rd round like Dylan Gabriel and not at least having him make the roster. So Deshaun Watson's probably not going to be healthy enough. So then I really do think that you're going to have a situation where the roster spot that's going to get cut at the quarterback position is either going to be Joe Flacco's or Kenny Pickett's. That's what the decision is going to be made. I'd be very surprised if Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders both don't make the roster. So whether it's Joe Flacco or Kenny Pickett being first up, I don't think either are going to hold that job for that long. And there's going to be a big push to see Shedeur play because of how popular or polarizing and how there's always a reaction about Shedeur. It will kind of be Tebow-like, where there's going to be a guy in front of him, but the fans of Shedeur are going to be pushing to see Shedeur play as quick as possible. So I think for Dylan Gabriel or Shedeur Sanders, one of them could start by late October or early November. I think you'll see probably 3 quarterbacks at some point this year play for the Cleveland Browns, though. Will Howard. See, him going to Pittsburgh is a good destination. I don't believe in Will Howard as a starting quarterback in the NFL. I think he's a backup for 2 reasons. He went on an incredible run in the national championship game. Had some good moments at Kansas State. I didn't love what I saw out of him up against Michigan. I think he's more of a career backup in the NFL, but also Hickey thinks he's the second best quarterback in this draft. So if Hickey thinks that, I'm kind of think that this guy's not going to be that successful. But the Will Howard situation is fascinating. What happens if Aaron Rodgers doesn't go to Pittsburgh? What happens if Aaron Rodgers is like, you know what? I'm going to wait for something to go wrong with the Vikings or an injury to happen around the league, or I'm going to do ayahuasca in a cave. Right now, Mason Rudolph's the guy on the Steelers roster. You're telling me Will Howard can't beat out Mason Rudolph? I think they're similar, actually. But I'd rather see more of Will Howard than Mason Rudolph. And I know this has been talked about if, and it's a big if, Rodgers says no to the Steelers. I do think Rodgers will end up going to the Steelers. Maybe then they explore the market for Kirk Cousins. Riley Leonard's year 1 expectations. 3rd guy up, but you could get a chance to play towards the end of the season. Because I do believe Anthony Richardson will be the guy to start. He'll eventually lose the job. Daniel Jones will be then given the job. He's not going to play all that well, or he's going to get hurt. And then you could see Riley Leonard. That's got to be the worst quarterback room in the NFL. The Steelers is pretty bad too. But that quarterback room, none of those guys do you like in that quarterback room to be the long-term starter. Anthony Richardson, Daniel Jones, Riley Leonard. Does anyone think any of those three guys are ever going to be a long-term starting quarterback in the NFL? Does anyone think any of those three guys are going to be the starting quarterback for the Colts next season? Where you could do enough this season where you earn the job for next season? Probably not. Kyle McCord. I think he's a good backup option for Jalen Hurts. Philly kid, right? Philly roots. Goes to the Eagles. He up again at Ohio State. That Michigan game was the death of him there. Goes to Syracuse. Does a really good job. Led the nation in passing with not a lot around him. But Kyle McCord, if Jalen Hurts gets hurt, be terrible. But you then walk into a situation where you got A.J. Brown, you got Devontae Smith, you got Saquon Barkley, and you got a kick-ass offensive line. You're probably a backup quarterback in the NFL, right? I don't think you could start in many places. But I think it's a really good backup option for Hurts. And I think they upgraded the backup quarterback position in Philadelphia. Quinn Ewers. The only reason I bring this up, I've always said this about Quinn Ewers, doesn't get enough credit for what he did or enough appreciation for what he did at Texas. I think he's more of a college quarterback than a pro quarterback, and I think he could be a decade backup in the NFL. Did anyone see what one former really good NFL player said about Quinn Ewers? Did you see this at all, Botcher? No?
No.
Samter, did you see this at all? Samter shaking his head no.
I did not.
There is someone that was a very good player in the NFL. His name was Dez Bryant, right? We all know Dez. Dez Bryant tweeted this out after Quinn Ewers got drafted. This is an actual tweet. This is not parody. This is a serious tweet from Dez Bryant. I like Quinn Ewers over Tua already. He's Dan Marino 2.0. And yes, I said it. Once again, that was not me saying that. That's just me repeating what Dez Bryant said. But Quinn Ewers could play in Miami. Tua misses a lot of time. Now, Quinn Ewers has to beat out Zach Wilson for the backup job. I don't think that's impossible to do. Also, I saw Zach Wilson's wearing number 0. I thought that was a joke. What quarterback wears the number 0? Especially when you've been a big 0 in the NFL and Zach Wilson. You are writing the jokes. That had to be a joke, right? But I saw it on social media, so who knows? It may be true. But Quinn Ewers, according to Dez Bryant, he likes him over Tua already. And he's Dan Marino. Dan Marino. One of the top 10 greatest quarterbacks of all time. He's Dan Marino 2.0. Oh, my goodness gracious. You want to talk about dumb takes? There are dumb takes, and then there's what Dez Bryant just tweeted out. All righty, we will take a break. We'll come on back. We'll update you some of the biggest stories in the world of sports with some audio. We'll do a news brief next. Or actually, we'll do a news brief at 4:40. We'll come on back. We'll talk a little bit about the NBA playoffs. A lot going on the last few days. Zach Gelb Show, Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
This is the Zach Gelb Show.
All right, it is Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. We brought up the president on Friday after President Donald Trump did tweet his support of Shedeur Sanders and the Sanders family. I gather that the Eagles are visiting the White House today, which this is something in sports that I don't care about. It's the debate on should you go to the White House or not. I've always said this. I don't care who's in the office, whether you like the person or you don't, whether you're Republican, Democrat, doesn't matter to me. But if I had the opportunity to go to the White House, I would go. That's just me. Now, if you go, great. If you don't go, we shouldn't be sitting here and saying, oh, this person's terrible. Like Jalen Hurts. He had a scheduling conflict. Wink, wink. He didn't go to the White House. That's his right. You know, Saquon Barkley, I guess, was playing golf with the president yesterday and tweeted out a photo with President Trump, or someone got a photo of him, and people like losing their minds over it. I'm not saying you gotta like President Trump, but the idea that you can't meet the president or you can't go to the White House, or if you don't go to the White House, like you're a despicable human being, I always think it's a stupid debate that we get into in the sports talk radio world. But with that being said, I did just see a photo from the ceremony from John Clark. It does a great job, NBC Sports Philadelphia. And the Eagles are there. Who do you think is the first person that President Trump from the Eagles called up to speak to address the crowd. You know, like how the president will speak, and then sometimes they'll bring up a person or two to talk about the run. It was Travis Kelce, I think it was 2 years ago, where he walked up and he's like, my fellow Americans. And then Patrick Mahomes was like, no, you're not speaking. Who do you think the first person from the Eagles was that they brought up, Samter?
Lane Johnson.
Lane, good guess. It's not Lane Johnson, but he is standing directly behind the president in Donald Trump. And Donald Trump is not a small man. Lane Johnson is just towering over the president in Donald Trump. Botcher, do you have a guess?
Sirianni.
It is not Nick Sirianni. It was Big Dom.
Of course it was.
Big Dom is the first Eagle that President Trump brought to the microphone to speak. That's just amazing. I absolutely love that. All righty. Let's do a few topics from the NBA. I can't believe the Knicks game yesterday. The Knicks looked like they had that killer instinct to start. Then Brunson gets hurt. The Pistons, right, they came storming back. They took control of the lead. And we have now seen twice in this series, the Pistons snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. We saw it in game 1, the campaign game, and then we saw it yesterday. They should have won the game. Now, at the end, Jalen Brunson showed you why right now he's playing like he's the most clutch player in the league. And also, Karl Anthony Towns made not one but two, like circus, unbelievable shots that when you were watching it, it was no. Oh, yes, he made that shot. So that's what Karl Anthony Towns and Jalen Brunson did yesterday. And the Knicks end up winning the game by 1 point. At the end, right, the ball is going around. 3 in the corner. There was contact. The league afterwards said that it should have been called a foul. With the way that this series is getting officiated, and really the NBA, I love this by the NBA. They're letting these guys play. Now, don't get me wrong. It should have been a foul at the end of the game. But how many times through the game, through the first 3 quarters, did all I see on Knicks Twitter was, oh, the officiating, the Knicks are getting mauled, they're getting mauled. So I guess at least it was consistent at the end. But now that series is at 3-1. I'd be very surprised if the Knicks don't close it out tomorrow night at Madison Square Garden. But that was a fun one to watch yesterday. Also, the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Los Angeles Lakers. The Minnesota Timberwolves win 116-113. The Timberwolves have now taken a 3-1 series lead. Anthony Edwards had 43 points. I loved him at the end of the game, though. There was 3 players he mentioned. Jaden McDaniels, who had a monster game 1. Naz Reid, who also had a monster game 1. And then Dante DiVincenzo. So Anthony Edwards didn't want any of the credit he put on those 3 guys, but Anthony Edwards was awesome yesterday, and he just has that certain mentality. He has that bleep you mentality. He doesn't fear anybody. And now the Los Angeles Lakers are down 3-1. LeBron was an absolute no-show in the 4th quarter yesterday, and I don't see that the Timberwolves are going to blow this. I don't know how many games this is going to go, but with Anthony Edwards there up 3-1, I'd be very surprised if they don't find a way to close out this series and get the job done. Celtics up 3-1 on the Orlando Magic. Also, the Indiana Pacers up against the Milwaukee Bucks. That series is at 3-1. But the big takeaway there is the fact that Damian Lillard is now going to be out. And who knows the next time we'll see him with the Achilles injury that he did suffer in that game. I think the bigger takeaway here and the bigger topic of conversation is what the heck is going to happen to Giannis Antetokounmpo. And I know we get in that conversation a lot. And usually I think a lot of the times it's not fair, and it doesn't usually happen. I think it's a toss-up this offseason if Giannis Antetokounmpo is going to stay with the Milwaukee Bucks. If I'm him and you want to win another championship, Dame probably not going to be able to play next year, and he's only getting older, coming off this Achilles injury. So who knows what he's going to be like when he comes back. Chris Middleton's no longer there because that ship sailed. You got Kyle Kuzma out of it. It's almost like this is the perfect offseason for it to build up to have Giannis Antetokounmpo leave the Milwaukee Bucks and go somewhere else. Cavs over the weekend, they took a 3-0 series lead to look to close out the Heat tonight. Thunder ended the Grizzlies season. A close game. The last 2 games were very close, 117-115. The Nuggets and the Clippers all tied up at 2. How about the ending of that one? With Aaron Gordon right at the buzzer, dunking the ball, and the ball literally leaves his hand with 1/10 of a second left. I see a lot of people like, oh, that shouldn't have counted. It absolutely should have counted. I don't understand why anyone could watch it and think that it didn't count once you saw the replay several times. And you get the Warriors and the Rockets. The Warriors did win game 3. They're now up 2-1 in that series. Draymond Green continues to be a pain in the ass, as we always know. And Steve Kerr will cry, "Oh, I think it's classless when they chant F you, Draymond. Oh, classless." But I'd be very surprised if the Warriors don't win that series and you have Game 4 coming up later tonight. All righty, we will take a break. Come on back, update some of the biggest stories in the world of sports with some audio. We will get to a news brief on the other side. Update time first. Here's Zach.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
Well, the Bucks had injury added to insult following yesterday's loss as ESPN reports Damian Lillard has suffered a torn Achilles, ending his season and certainly putting next season in doubt. The Bucks season this year is one more loss away from coming to an end as they trail the Pacers 3-1. The Cavaliers were the best team in the East all year long and has taken another step in the first round of the playoffs. They go for the sweep tonight in Miami. The Heat suffered their worst playoff loss in Game 3, losing by 37. Cavaliers head coach Kenny Atkinson expects to see a different team tonight with their season on the line.
This is the Miami Heat, right? This is not going to be because of who they are, because of their character and their program and their coaching and the players they have. Game 4 is going to be, I expect it to be a tight battle.
Out west, the Warriors host the Rockets up 2-1. Jimmy Butler questionable after missing Game 3 with a hip injury. Cal transfer Andrei Stojakovic announced he'll attend Illinois. Baseball right now, bottom of the second in Washington. The Mets have an early 2-0 lead over the Nationals. And the Penguins have fired head coach Mike Sullivan after 10 seasons. He won the Stanley Cup in his first 2 years, but the team had missed the playoffs in each of the last 3. I'm Rich Echo.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 2 minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Time for your daily news brief. We get you caught up on the rumors, reports, and reconnaissance from the day in sports.
All right, this NFL Draft recap is sponsored by Ego, tools that deliver or exceed the power and performance of gas without the noise, fuss, and fumes. For any outdoor challenge, count on Ego, tools to deliver the power, performance, and innovation you need. Ego, power beyond belief. 14, holy smokes, quarterbacks were taken in the NFL Draft last week, but one draft fall stood out above the rest. Shedeur Sanders. He did fall to the Cleveland Browns in the 5th round, and it shocked the NFL world as Sanders was once projected to go top 3 in the draft. More shockingly, Shedeur wasn't even the first quarterback taken by the Browns, woof woof, in the NFL Draft, as Dylan Gabriel from Oregon was taken in the 3rd round, woof woof. Sanders was the 6th quarterback taken in the NFL Draft, and now will need to fight to start in a cluttered Browns quarterback room. Let's start with Shedeur Sanders. Any regrets with the pre-draft process? I had people tell me that in the pre-draft process, Shedeur Sanders in those interviews came off as entitled, did not take the interview seriously, was a horrible interview, and also came off as unlikable. This is Shedeur Sanders talking to the Cleveland media.
Do I have any regrets? I feel like in life, it's always a way I can improve. So it's always in different areas I'm able to improve. And some things that, you know, I could have done at the time that seemed right at the time, I could have went about it a different way. And that was like more during the season and stuff like that.
That's the thing to me. The during the season line doesn't really make sense. Because I don't think you fell to the 5th round for things that you did during the season. I thought it was more things that happened in February, March, and April, the combine, the pre-draft process, and all those interviews as well. Let's go more from Shedeur. Did the drop and commentary about him falling impact him at all?
No, nothing really affected me the last couple of days. You know, to just having faith and understanding, you know, God really had me, and I'm favored, I'm blessed. Besides that, it's not really anything that changed. The love of the game is still the game. When you get on the field, it wasn't too much, you know, negativity being said. I know I got to clean up some things in my game for me to be at my best, but that's what I take each offseason one at a time and fix it, you know. So I think that was just outside of football getting in the way.
So I think this drop has to impact anyone that would be a part of it, number one. Number two, I think he answered it the right way. But I think number three, the truth should be, now I'm really motivated, and now I have that fire really burning in my tummy, and I'll learn from some of the mistakes that I made to prove everybody wrong. And that's what I hope ends up happening with Shedeur Sanders. I hope he ends up going on to have a great career in the NFL. Shedeur Sanders makes it clear that he's ready to do whatever the Cleveland Browns need him to do.
Get there and handle my business. Do what I have to do, whatever role that is. You know, I'm just thankful for an opportunity, so that's all I can ask for. The rest is on me.
How do you think you're going to fit in with this team and with this organization?
I know I'm going to fit in perfectly. I feel like it's first getting in, showing the respect to the vets, showing them, I'm here ready to work, show the coaches and have them understand, I'm here ready to work. So they could actually understand the real me. That's what I'm truly thankful to have, is an opportunity for people to actually see the real me and not be able to see stuff that could be true or not.
You know who Shedeur really reminds me of? He reminds me of Odell Beckham Jr. And I know two totally different positions, but a lot of times things would be said negatively about Odell Beckham Jr., but his teammates would love him. And I think it's similar with Shedeur, where there's a lot that's said. I'm not saying all of it is untrue, because I do think there are things that are true, like with what happened with the pre-draft process. But you talk to his teammates, and they do seem to love him. So that's how I'll make the comparison there with those two players. So Shedeur Sanders, he's not the first player this had happened to him. And it doesn't make it right, obviously, for any of the other players, but it's so notable when you were the story of the draft, you're falling, and you're basically streaming everything, and it comes out that some kid called you pretending that he was with the Saints. So I saw that, and I go, oh, that's so unfortunate. But I think more would come out of that story. And then I saw that the video was posted of these two kids, they're 20, 21, whatever, like looking like they're in a dorm room, calling Shedeur Sanders. One of them wearing an Ole Miss shirt. Now, Joe Shane's daughter, I guess, goes to Ole Miss. So people are like, oh, it's Joe Shane's daughter's like friends. And now people rush to those conclusions. It's so stupid, but we live in a stupid world. So it actually turned out, though, because that phone that Shedeur had, the number was only given to NFL personnel. So Jeff Ulbrich, who was the interim coach of the Jets last year, now is a defensive coordinator of the Falcons. I guess his son was home, and he went on Dad's iPad, and he got the number of Shedeur Sanders that was issued to the teams. So Jax Ulbrich, I don't think he's the one that made the phone call, because I watched the video and I see the picture of the kid. It looks like he's the one sitting next to the kid that made the phone call on the couch. But they pranked Shedeur. Hey, it's Mickey Loomis. We're going to take you here. Oh, actually, no, wait. You're going to have to wait a little bit longer. Click, you hang up the phone. Now, since there's a lot of other players that this happened to, last year it happened to Cooper DeJean. Tyler Warren claims it happened to him this year, and a few other players as well. There's some offensive lineman that's like a no-name that got like 5 prank phone calls. Just a terrible thing to do. So this is Shedeur Sanders on the prank phone call during the draft process.
It didn't really have no impact on me, because it was just like, okay, like I don't feed into negativity, or I don't feed into that stuff. Like you seen on Deion Jr.'s well-off YouTube video, my reaction to it. This is what it is. I think of course the dude was childish. Of course I feel like it was a childish act, but everybody do childish things here and there. So,
were you a big prank phone call guy as a kid, Samter?
Not to do it myself, but I enjoyed the Jerky Boys. Used to put out CDs and discs of like some of their fun ones, but I never did it myself. I just enjoyed hearing them.
So
crank anchors.
When I was in 7th or 8th grade, they used to give you like a packet with everybody's number on the first day of school. Like it was a directory. So if you needed to, let's say your parents needed to get in touch with someone, their home phone numbers would be there. My friends used to order pizzas to like random kids' houses. Like, oh, we'll get 3 large pies. And back then, they didn't like make you put a credit card. You could just pay there with cash, whatever. And we would just order random pizzas to people's houses. It's a little bit different when you do that as a kid compared to when you're calling someone in the biggest fall in the history of the draft and you prank him there, and you don't think, oh, this is ever going to get back to me. Your dad works in the NFL, and you're dumb enough to put the video out there online. Like, terrible thing to do. Is it criminal? Absolutely not. It's like morally criminal, but not legally criminal. People are like, oh, this kid, we need to punish him, blah, blah, blah. Like, what are you going to do? Like, I don't think the Falcons should get any punishment because of this. I don't think it's Jeff Ulbricht's fault. Like, he left his iPad open, stupid. His kid looked on it and got Shedeur Sanders' number. It's an unfortunate situation. It's a really dumb thing to do. But some of the commentary on this gets a little bit, like, too extreme. Like, Stephen A. Smith saying, like, you need to basically, like, hit the kid. Like, for a kid's 21. He's not a kid. He's a young adult. So it's wrong what he did. Terribly wrong. But the world is going to survive. We will move on. And talking about moving on, let's talk more Shedeur Sanders, but we'll move off of Shedeur and we'll go to Andrew Berry on drafting Shedeur Sanders.
I think Shedeur, he is probably a little bit opposite in terms of his personality of his dad. Obviously a little bit quieter, a little bit more introverted. But we felt good with him. We felt good with him as a person. He works hard. He's a really good kid. He wants to be great. His teammates, loved him in Colorado, and I know he'll come in here ready to work. Ready to try and put his best foot forward in all areas of competition.
So now, when Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski were sitting in the war room when the Shedeur Sanders pick was announced, it didn't look like Andrew Berry was all that happy with the selection. Here's the video of the reaction to the Shedeur pick.
When we saw your guys' reaction in the war room, it just didn't look necessarily exuberant. So I don't know what we were seeing, but maybe you can explain that. And then also, like, how did this happen?
Yeah. I think we're probably just tired from the weekend.
Those clips, it's not timed up to exactly the right
when
time.
We're actually
so I wouldn't. Don't read too much into that.
So let's go to the Ken Carman show with Anthony Lima, 92.3 The Fan in Cleveland. Jason Lloyd was on, who covers the team. Did Jimmy Haslam make the Shedeur Sanders pick? Because that's what a lot of people are saying after already taking a quarterback and then Shedeur going also to Cleveland, the second quarterback in this draft in the 5th round. Here's Jason.
Jason, did the owner make the pick?
Yes, right? Like, yes. Just look at what they did. Now, the Browns are going to fight back on this. They're going to rail against it, and that's fine. The problem is Jimmy has never earned the benefit of the doubt with any of his actions previously, so you can't trust them now. If you look at how they have built that room, we just talked about Kenny and Joe. If you go back to Baker, social media presence, like emotional basket case, kind of all over the place, just not a lot of stability and leadership at that position. And then you go to Deshaun and the Instagram model and everything else. Not a lot of leadership at that position. They were moving away from that. People who know Kenny Pickett swear what an incredible human being he is, what a great leader he is, and then they go and they get Joe. Same thing. Always does the right thing, always is a great leader. And then go talk to anyone about Dylan Gabriel. It's the exact same thing. And then you got the Shedeur experience coming in. So one doesn't fit with the others.
I agree. I think Jimmy Haslam made the pick. Now, you could argue maybe it was insurance by Andrew Berry. You passed him so many times. This guy goes on to be good. Maybe we should just take him at this rate. It's in the 5th round. But I think the owner made the pick. And I'm curious to see how popular Shedeur is going to be in the locker room. Some people won't love all that comes with Shedeur. But I also think there'll be a lot of people that are going to be like, oh, that's a dog. Like, that's a competitor. That's a dude that has confidence. We need that in Cleveland. So I'll be curious how that plays out. Caroline Leavitt, the White House press secretary, on President Trump's Shedeur Sanders post on Friday saying that he needs to get drafted and also talking about how great Coach Prime is.
After the President's Truth Social post, the Browns finally took Shedeur Sanders. Does the President think he deserves credit for Sanders getting picked? And does he think going to the Browns is better than being undrafted?
Hey, I'm gonna. All I will say is the president put out a statement, and a few rounds later he was drafted. So I think the facts speak for themselves on that one, Peter.
So there you go. You got President Trump getting Shedeur Sanders drafted. You also have President Trump golfing with Saquon Barkley. President Trump meeting as we speak with the Philadelphia Eagles at the White House, where he calls Big Dom as the first speaker. I have not seen this clip yet, heard it, but I see the headline of it. Donald Trump now also claims, President Donald Trump, that he told Brian Daboll to keep Saquon Barkley. Oh, it just never ends. Let's hear CBS this morning, Bill Belichick on his new young girlfriend, Jordan.
Jordan was a constant presence during our interview.
You have Jordan right over there. Everybody in the world seems to be following this relationship. They've got an opinion about your private life. It's got nothing to do with them, but they're invested in it. How do you deal with that?
Never been too worried about what everybody else thinks. Just try to do what I feel like is best for me and what's right.
How did you guys meet?
Not talking about this.
No?
No.
It's a topic neither one of them is comfortable commenting on.
Yeah, I will. Jordan has Bill Belichick by the balls. That's just a fact. And those balls by Belichick may be deflated. He's 73. She's 24. Legal, but weird. And she's basically running the Instaface, the Snapchat, whatever you want to call it, of Bill Belichick and the public presence of Bill Belichick. She's doing a lot of things with Bill Belichick at UNC. And then, didn't we all know how they met? Supposedly, they told us it was on like an airplane, and now they won't talk about a story that everybody knows. This relationship is weird. Really weird. And I kind of hope Jordan's father grew up as a Jet fan. It's like, oh, Belichick beat the crap out of my football team for all those years, and now he's dating my daughter. Like, imagine if that's the case. She's 24. He's 73. I had a girl ask me, you know, like, what's like the age of girls that you usually go for? And I'm 30. I'm like, 32 would probably be the oldest, and the youngest would probably be 26. 73 and 24. Bizarre. Just so bizarre. The whole thing's weird.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 2 minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
To infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
Alrighty, hour number 3 of our radio program. It is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. We do this segment every Monday and Friday on the show. By the way, this week I am only here 3 days. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I am going to Las Vegas. Viva Las Vegas on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I'll be back on Monday, but I have a bachelor party to go to. And Samter, the squad that I'm going with on Saturday night, we are going to one of the best Italian restaurants on the planet, and that is Piero's. So looking forward to that. Samter and I once had a very good meal, along with EJ, Andrew Perloff, and Sully at Piero's. So I will be going back there, all by my own, though, this time.
Bring me home a garbage salad, please.
Yeah, right. Could you imagine if I go through security at the airport with the garbage salad, which is basically a Caesar salad with some other things in it, but it's called the garbage salad, and then a veal parm? I'll bring you back the bone.
Deal.
All righty, let's get to a little onside, offside. Botcher, hit it!
Zach's taking on the most polarizing issues in sports. Which side of the line of scrimmage will he end up on?
Offside. Defense number 69.
It's Onsides, Offsides with Zach Gelb.
Alrighty, Samter, what do we got cooking today? By the way, have you seen Stu's vacation to Chicago over the weekend? He's still there.
Yeah, he's living it up.
Oh my God. Wrigley Field, had one of those beers and like a baseball bat. He went to Soldier Field today. Soldier Field, and then also he's like going to all these hot dog places and pizza places in Chicago. I'm telling you, Stu is one of the most impressive stomachs I've ever encountered. Going back to when I was in San Antonio with the Final Four with him, and he went from Pinkerton's at a full tray of barbecue, and then an hour and a half, 90 minutes to 2 hours later, he was at Whataburger getting a burger order as well with fries. That dude could eat.
Listen, if Portnoy can do pizza reviews, maybe Stu should be our, everything else reviewer around the world.
Oh.
Every trip we go on, he can just do a hot dog review, a Whataburger review, a steak review.
It doesn't really help Stu with the allegations that are levied upon him with some of the things that Stu likes to enjoy to do that maybe would open up one's stomach to start eating like you are a pig. All right? That's kind of what is happening here. I think Smoking Stu is just doing so much puffy-de-puff that he ends up going to all these food places and just can't control himself. We have to have an intervention with Stu, like in the Sopranos, where they sit down Christopher when he has the drug and alcohol problems. I mean, we may just have to one day just go up to Stu and say, is everything okay with you? Just want to make sure that you're doing all right.
He has missed a lot of time surrounding these kinds of events. I'm just going to say that.
The pot calling the kettle black.
I missed time for health reasons. He misses time after 420 and hanging out with Bill Ryder and eating food while on the munchies in Chicago.
Someone came up to me in the office today. I will keep this person anonymous. Anonymous person goes, the Zach Gelb show, where the producers get more time off than the host. The only host in the history of radio to ever have to fight through that adversity.
I've taken one day off this year, so it was my birthday, so I think that's allowed.
No, don't get so sensitive here.
I'm just saying.
I'm just telling you what people are saying, and I can be the first one to admit it. When the summer hits, folks, almost every Friday, I'm out of here on the summer. Once we get through June, maybe a day or two a Friday or two in June, but July, August, don't be expecting me to be here 5 days a week. I go on the Howard Stern method in the summer, or the DA method in the summer, where it's 4 days a week, and then Fridays, goodbye.
Deal, I'll be gone too.
Beach, 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 pool, 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 beach, 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 pool, pool, pool.
Bachelor party, pool, bachelor party.
I do have a lot of bachelor
You've
parties.
been on 9 bachelor parties in the past 6 months.
I got one in Vegas, and that's this week. Then in July, I have 2. One's to Colorado, and then one is somewhere in upstate New York. So,
you know what, though? It's nice to do something different. Sometimes Vegas, you can only do so many times. New Orleans. Sometimes it's nice to do something different.
And I'll be on the Stu diet, by the way, in Colorado, if you know what I'm saying. Anyway, on-site, off-site time. What do you got cooking here?
I don't understand what you're talking about. Coors Light? Is that what you're talking about?
We'll explain it for you another day.
Oh,
all
okay.
right?
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm very naive when it comes to these things.
I'll tell you when you get a little bit older, all right?
Said the guy 10 years younger than me. Well, we waited with bated breath as Shedeur fell in the draft.
It's not that much of an age difference like Belichick and Jordan. Jeez.
Do you want to date me? Is that what you're saying?
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying our radio relationship.
All right, I just want to make sure that we're on the same page here.
Take it easy.
And just make sure if anyone ever asks how we first met, that you're not going to shut them out.
It was on an airplane.
We're not talking about that right now. On to Cincinnati.
I signed Sam to a book of mine. I was helping him with the research project. Oh, Volt.
All right, on to Cleveland, because we waited with bated breath for Shedeur to get drafted, and he fell. At one point, we thought the wait was over as Shedeur got a call on his private NFL phone from what it sounded like the Saints.
Hello?
Hey, is this Shedeur?
You got that call? Yeah, what's going on?
Hey, this is Mickey Thomas here, the GM of the New Orleans Saints.
Say it one more time for me.
This is Mickey Loomis here, GM of the Saints.
How you doing?
Good, how are you, man?
Good, been waiting on you.
Yeah, we have. It's been a long wait, man.
No, for sure.
We're going to take you with our next pick right here, man.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Let's be legendary.
Yeah, but you're going to have to wait a little bit longer, man.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Ready to go! What does that mean?
What? What did he say?
I don't know.
How you gonna ask us what it means and you was on the phone?
You heard that?
You said you're gonna have to wait a little bit longer.
Sorry about that.
Why did he talk?
What the f?
Hey, that's
I don't know what that was. It's 50-50. But nobody got this number though.
The only reason I'm laughing, it's such a spot-on thing for whoever the other person was in the back. What do you mean? You were just on the phone. How do you know if you didn't get drafted or not? That's the funny part of it. But anyway, continue with the conversation.
Well, now, as we know, the prank call was by the son of Falcons defensive coordinator and former Jets interim head coach Jeff Ulbrich. While Ulbrich's son Jax has issued an apology, the Falcons and league have chosen not to punish Ulbrich or the team. Onside, offside, the league should dock the Falcons a future draft pick for the stunt.
Don't get me wrong. And I have had a team that's got many draft picks taken away for ridiculous and unfair circumstances from fake outrage from people. But the league should dock the Falcons a future draft pick. If it's true that the son just went on dad's iPad and got the number, I'm sorry, folks. I feel terrible that this happened to Shedeur. Jack's Olbrick, right? He's a knucklehead. He's an idiot. Have a heart here. But to dock the Falcons a future draft pick for something that the defensive coordinator's son did? What are we doing? Like seriously, what are we doing? There's been a lot worse that has gone on in the National Football League than that. So the league should dock the Falcons a future draft pick for this stunt? Absolutely not. Offsides.
Offside.
What do you think they should do? Or anything at all? Nothing.
Nothing.
So, no punishment for the kid whatsoever. He just gets away with it.
What do you expect? The NFL now needs to punish the defensive coordinator's kid's son?
It's his son.
So what do you want him to do? Oh, go sit in timeout. I'm not paying your phone bill anymore. What do you expect?
Coaches get in trouble all the time for the actions of their players when it's not their fault, but they, Kirby's smart. All the stuff going on in Georgia, we put it on him.
And what has happened to him? Nothing.
Exactly, but something shouldn't it?
No.
There has to be some accountability here.
Yes. You're a parent. Handle your son at home. The NFL doesn't need to swoop in and be like, oh, since this son was a knucklehead, we now need to take away a draft pick from the team. So then what about all these other phone calls
because
that
Jeff
happened?
Ulbrich was a knucklehead for leaving the number out there, too.
Stop.
He should be held accountable in some way.
Stop. Everyone's just outraged and looking to punish someone and looking for this kid to, beg for forgiveness. The kid is an idiot. I'm not defending the kid. But the idea that we should now punish the Falcons for this kid, stop. Next question. I'm Drew Rosenhausing you. Next question.
Now, the Dolphins believe
Next question.
The Dolphins believe Tua
Next question.
The Dolphins believe Tua Tagovailoa can be their long-term franchise quarterback.
Des Bryant doesn't. He's already saying Quinn Ewers is Marino 2.0.
Well, we'll get to that. But Tua can't stay healthy, and the team has never had a legitimate backup once he's gone down. Now, after signing draft bust Zach Wilson, my best friend, the Finns made former Texas star Quinn Ewers the last quarterback selected in the draft when they took him 231st overall in the 7th round. Onside, offside, Quinn Ewers will win the backup job and be an effective quarterback if Tua goes down.
I'm actually going to surprise some people here. I think he'll beat Zach Wilson out for the backup quarterback job. If you see Tua go down and he has to, I'll put a caveat in here, play 4 games like last year, I think Quinn Ewers could be competent. I think he could be effective. Quinn Ewers, to me, is a good backup quarterback in the league. When I watched him in college, I said, that will be a backup quarterback in the NFL. So if it's asking him to start the entire season, no, I don't believe he'll be great. But if it's like what happened last year, yeah, I think it could be effective. So, onsides.
Now, one of the Cowboys' biggest needs in the draft was wide receiver, but they ended up going the entire draft without selecting a single wideout. The team had teased multiple times that they were open to trading for Broncos' Cortland Sutton, but that never materialized, though Jerry says they're not done looking for a wide receiver 2 yet.
Definitely was a big-time thought that the train has not left the station if improvement is needed from what we've got on campus. And so we don't have to be through at receiver in any way.
Onside, offside, the Cowboys need to make a deal for a legitimate wide receiver 2 before the season.
Onsides, will they though? I don't think so. I just saw this tweet from JPA Football. The Cowboys are interested in potentially reuniting with former wide receiver Amari Cooper per Nick Harris. While attention is still devoted to the trade market, so is the availability of veteran free agents. Intriguing options remain such as unsigned players like Keenan Allen, Nelson Aguilar, and Robert Woods. However, there is building team interest in bringing free agent Amari Cooper back for a reunion in Dallas, according to a Star Telegram source. I think you have to make a trade to go get a legit number 2 wide receiver because all those guys at those stage of their careers, I don't know how effective they will be and how much gas they have left in the tank. But if the Cowboys want to do anything this year, you need more firepower on that offense. So I will go onsides.
Now, everyone expected the Steelers to take Shedeur if he fell to them at number 21, but that did not happen. And not only did they pass on him there, they also passed on him at 83 in the third round before eventually taking Ohio State's Will Howard with the 185th overall pick in the sixth round. Onside, offside. You're okay with the Steelers waiting till the sixth round to take a quarterback if they know Rodgers is coming to Pittsburgh?
No, because you still don't have a long-term plan. And Shedeur Sanders, whether you love him or not, at one point was talked about being an early first-round pick. And you had two opportunities to get him after he fell out of the first round. Like, you don't want to take him in the first round? Fine. But you had two other opportunities, and you failed to do so both times. I would have taken the gamble there on Shedeur Sanders. So I am not okay with the Steelers waiting till the sixth round to take a quarterback if they knew that Aaron Rodgers is coming to Pittsburgh. So I'm going offside on that.
Offside. Now, some have panned the Bills for a questionable draft in which they didn't take a receiver until the seventh round, despite that being a top need, and spending 6 of their 9 picks on defense. Mel Kiper gave them a B- for their draft, and GM Billy Beane ended up snapping.
Brandon Beane.
Jeez. Brandon Beane. Billy Beane's a totally different GM.
Yes.
Snapping
Wrong
at the host
sport.
of the Jeremy and Joe show
That
on
name,
WGR.
that name came out of right field, I will say.
I know.
Dun-dun-dun.
Right field, I get it. He snapped at the host of the Jeremy and Joe show on WGR in Buffalo.
You guys were bitching in 2018 about Josh Allen. You guys wanted Josh Rosen, and now you guys are bitching that we don't have a receiver. I don't get it. A year ago, I get you guys asking why we didn't have receivers, but I don't understand it now. You just saw us lead the league in points. You just saw us do it without Stephon Diggs, same group. How is this group not better than last year's group? Our job is to score points and win games. Where do we need to get better? Defense. We did that. So I get it. You got to have a show, and you got to have something to bitch about. But bitching about wide receiver is one of the dumbest arguments I've heard.
I love it. Onside, offside. The Bills need to give Josh Allen more weapons.
Yeah, I think that's on sides. Now, it does not mean that the Bills can't be a great team this year. We just saw them prove that last year. Now, the James Cook contract situation is uncertain. I like Khalil Shakir, but they have drafted guys in the first round or towards the early second round with Keon Coleman. You had Dawson Knox. Those guys need to have breakout seasons this year. I'm fine with what the Bills did, but down the road, they're going to need to go get more weapons if a guy like Dawson Knox doesn't pop off. Or excuse me, Dalton Kincaid, not Dawson Knox. Dalton Kincaid out of Utah. Or someone like Keon Coleman doesn't reach their potential. So I'm fine with this approach now, but down the road, yeah, they'll need to have more weapons if those guys don't pop off like a Kincaid or a Keon Coleman. So I will go on sides on that.
Now, Mel Kiper was furious that Shedeur was dropping, so it's no surprise he gave the Browns the best grade of the draft.
Can I say one thing?
Yeah.
I actually loved Mel Kiper during the NFL draft. I think I am the only person that will say that. He had an opinion. This is what this guy does. And he was incredulous that the quarterbacks were dropping. Now, I do see the irony when he goes, the NFL doesn't know how to evaluate quarterbacks. And he was also someone at one point that told us Jimmy Clausen was going to be the next great quarterback. I think he went as far as saying he would retire if Jimmy Clausen doesn't pan out, something along those lines. But I thought it was very riveting television seeing Mel Kiper want to basically explode after every pick where Shedeur Sanders didn't go. I thought it was good. A lot of people did it. I'm in a minority, but hey, what the heck do I know?
It was the story of the draft, so you might as well have someone stumping for Shedeur. I loved it. Now, he gave them an A+, the only team he gave that grade to. Now, Cleveland also added Mason Graham after trading back, Carson Schweschinger, Quinshon Judkins, and Dylan Gabriel, and picked up another first-rounder from the Jags in that trade to move up for Travis Hunter. So, onside, offside, the Browns are legit playoff contenders this year after their moves this offseason.
This year?
This year.
Not like 2 years from now? 3 years from now?
You got Mason Graham, and you've got Myles Garrett and Denzel Ward on that defense to go along with potentially a reasonable offense if they can, get the quarterback situation figured out.
Yeah, you got 5 quarterbacks there right now.
You know what they say, if you have 5 quarterbacks, you have 1.
Yeah, you have 5. No. They are the worst team in that division, easily. Steelers are better. Bengals are definitely better. Ravens are definitely better. And I think they are trying to be a bottom 5 team in the NFL this year with 2 first-round picks, whether it's on their own incompetence or having ammunition to move back up to go get whoever one of the top quarterbacks are in the draft next year, if not the top quarterback. So the Browns are legit playoff contender this year after their moves this offseason. They are closer to the number 1 overall pick than they are to making the playoffs this year. So I will go offside on that.
Offside.
Playoffs? You kidding me?
Now,
Playoffs?
do you think that they're still not as good as the Steelers if the Steelers go into the season with Mason Rudolph as their starting quarterback?
Yes, because the Steelers always find a way to slap together like 8 or 9 wins.
Yeah. They lost their running back. They'll have Mason Rudolph as the quarterback, and they'll still be better than the Browns. That's sad.
It's not tough.
Yeah, that's a good point.
The Browns is the Browns.
While we say goodbye finally to the 2025 draft, one player who expected to factor in big for the 2026 draft is former quarterback Jaden Rashada. The former 5-star recruit started at Florida, but transferred immediately to ASU after an NIL dispute, then left the Sun Devils for Georgia after playing just 3 games due to injury. Now, Rashada is headed to his 4th team, leaving the Bulldogs for Sacramento State. Now, Rashada's path is similar, reminds us of another top QB from that same 2023 class, Malachi Nelson.
Where is he now?
He started at USC, went to Boise State, lost the starting quarterback job, and now is heading to UTEP.
Maddox Madsen. Saying goodbye to him.
Onside, offside. It's a good idea for top quarterback recruits who are not getting playing time at major programs to go to smaller schools.
Yeah, what other options do you have and you want to play? And you got the bag in those other spots. So, yeah. You got to get reps. You got to eventually play. So I go on sides on that one. All right, it is Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. We will get to winners and losers from the NFL draft that we saw over 3 days, spanning over Thursday, Friday, and Saturday when we return after these short messages.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network.
Alrighty, this is Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. Let's do this right now. Do a little winners and losers from the draft. We'll go around the room. We'll give 2 winners each, 2 losers each. I'll start off, and it's been the biggest topic of the day. I'm going with the Cleveland Browns. And no, this is not me being like Mel Kiper, but I think they had a really good draft. And I know some people could be like, oh, well, it doesn't make sense that you take a quarterback in the 3rd round and then you also take one in the 5th round. When Shedeur is there in the 3rd round, I thought Cleveland should have taken him. He's there in the 5th round. You have to take him. So you get Mason Graham, who I had as a 3rd best player in the draft. You got a future 1st round pick. You got Carson Schlesinger, a linebacker from UCLA. Quinshon Judkins, a really good running back from Ohio State. You know, Harold Fannin Jr., tight end. You pick up another tight end too. Dylan Sampson, who they got a running back late from Tennessee. I think he's a very underrated running back. And you get Shedeur. So you get someone that could have been a 1st round pick in the 5th round. Plus you get Mason Graham. Plus you get a future 1st round pick. And you get 2 picks in the 2nd round where you pick up a linebacker and a running back. I like what Cleveland did. Samter, who's your first winner?
I'm going with the Baltimore Ravens. Obviously, we talked about getting Malachi Starks. They also had that Mike Green situation. I mean, listen, we all know everything that's going on with Mike Green. He had some allegations off the field, but all those allegations were from like years ago. It wasn't like something new that came up.
Still serious allegations.
For sure, but it wasn't anything that was new per se. It was just stuff that happened in the past that he revealed recently. So I thought that was interesting that he fell. He was a top 20 guy, and he ended up going in the 2nd round to them. They also got Emory Jones from LSU, offensive tackle, who was a very highly rated prospect before the season started. Dropped a little bit, but still a big name. So I think what they did, considering where they were drafting, getting some big names early on in the draft really helped.
And also, talking about allegations, with all the allegations against Justin Tucker, I think it is noticeable that they did take a kicker, Tyler Loop, in the 6th round from Arizona. So I now maybe am starting to think that Justin Tucker, that's the beginning of the end of his time in Baltimore. Now, there's one thing to have allegations, and there's another thing for a team to move on. When you're drafting a kicker, just because you draft a kicker in the 6th round doesn't mean he has to make the roster. But I think that kind of shows which way maybe the Baltimore Ravens are leaning on the Justin Tucker front. Botcher, who's your first winner?
The Jacksonville Jaguars. The overall draft, you can look at, there's not a lot of big names. But the fact that they traded up and got their number 1 guy in Travis Hunter, fills the wide receiver spot to go with Brian Thomas, then that's basically their number 1 corner now, too. Yeah. So that fills his 2 birds with 1 stone there. On top of that, you fill it out with the Caleb Branshaw cornerback. And 7th round running back, LaQuinn Allen, he's solid. I watched a couple Syracuse games last year. He's pretty good for his spot there.
And Jack Kaiser's a good player from Notre Dame, too. Here's the thing. I wonder how we're talking about the Jaguars a year from now. Liam Cohen, James Gladstone, interesting characters, right? You also gave up a future first-round pick to move up to get Travis Hunter. So what is your team going to look like this year? But they have a quarterback that they paid a lot of money to, and now you got weapons with Travis Hunter, Brian Thomas Jr., Travis Etienne is still on that team. Now you got some weapons where they better not be picking in the top 5 or 10 next year, because that means then Trevor Lawrence is just not worth it. This isn't a homer pick. It's just reality. Because I like the draft my team had. A lot of people are saying the Patriots are the winners from this draft. And they're bringing respectability back to the football field in New England. Will Campbell, say what you want with the alligator arms. He's my favorite tackle in this draft. They get him at 4. Then, not only are you protecting Drake May with your first pick, your second pick, you're going on out there and you're drafting a running back in Travion Henderson because you need a little more extra punch to that offense. Then you get Kyle Williams, a wide receiver, out of Washington State. Then you take a center, Jared Wilson, out of Georgia. So 2 offensive linemen, a running back, and a wide receiver. Those are your first 4 picks. I'm a fan of what the Patriots ended up doing in this draft as Mike Vrabel and Elliott Whelan and Dylan Wolf try to get this team back to being just a respectable team. And I'll tell you this, with the offseason that they had too, I go into this season with the Patriots, and I'm not saying I expect them to make the playoffs, but I kind of look at them as maybe they could be a 9-win football team this year. And that would be in the mix to maybe make the postseason. I'm excited for Patriots football this year. Patriots a winner in the draft for me. Samter?
I hate to have to say this because you're going with your team. I'm going with one of my most hated teams, and that's the New York Football Giants. First, they get Abdul Carter, who many think is the best player in the draft, who's going to be just a monster on the edge there. And while you
really hate the Giants that much?
I mean, I'm a Jet fan. So
Jet fan, Chief fan, you hate the Giants?
I mean, New York. I mean, I'm a Yankee fan, I hate the Mets. I'm a Jet fan, I hate the Giants. It's just the way it is.
Yeah.
So, and while I don't love Jackson Dart, they obviously liked him enough. They traded up to get their quarterback. So whether we like him or not, Dayball did. And we know that Dayball can make certain things work with his type of quarterback.
Dayball made the pick. Let's be real on that.
For sure. So at the end of the day, I mean, they got their quarterback. They got the best defensive player in the draft. Darius Alexander, with the first pick in the 3rd round, was a top 30 ranked player who many thought would be either a first-round pick in the end of the first round or even early second. They got him in the 3rd.
Hold on. Samter's missing somebody. If Samter's praising the Giants, it has to be a tie to Samter because he wouldn't just do that on his own accord just to be a good guy. Samter likes a college football team named the Sun Devils of Arizona State. Wonder why he picked the Giants here. What else they do, Samter?
I'm so pissed. He couldn't have gone anywhere else. The best running back in the draft, Cam Scatterboo from Arizona State.
Best running back in the draft. Don't be disrespectful to Ashton Jeanty.
Ashton Jeanty is a fine young man. Cam Scatterboo is the best running back in this draft. He's going to be a future Hall of Famer. He's going to rush for 2,700 yards 3 years in a row. Cam Scatterboo, no, legitimately, I think it's the 2nd or 3rd or maybe the 4th best running back.
Okay.
But he was way down. There was nothing that we saw on tape from him or from his workouts that would justify him falling as far as he did and being like the 6th ranked running back. I thought he should have gone much higher. They got him in the 4th round. And then even their 5th round pick, I can't pronounce his last name, Marcus Mabo. He was a 3rd, maybe 4th round grade. They got him in the middle of the 5th round. So all of their first 5 picks were big picks that they got at a good time. And they not good value picks as well, and very good players. So I think the Giants did a great job.
They got a tight end from Nebraska who's suffered a bunch of injuries, but it supposedly has an incredibly high ceiling. Could have gone back to Nebraska this year, but Matt said, I think with all the injuries, maybe you should just go to the NFL with what the potential that you have potentially to accomplish.
I like how you just call him Matt.
Oh, sorry, Matt Rule at Nebraska.
Matt.
What do we got here, Botcher?
I'm being a homer. The New York Jets. Really, really great draft.
It's the Jets Super Bowl.
No.
Draft all the time.
Well, no, the offseason.
The Jets have had a great draft, I feel like, for the last 10 years.
Oh, I don't know. Don't look to the 2nd round. There's very, very, very few hits there.
It's because they're always drafting the top 5 because they suck.
They still miss.
All right, so tell me why you love this Jets draft.
if you want to go as a joke, you can look at the college football ratings. 95% of them are over 85. But just to go against Brick Johnson and Woody Johnson, then who fills up the O-line? They're all under 30, young and developing.
I was like, where the heck are you guys? Brick Johnson. Oh, yeah, the Madden ratings and all.
Yeah, Mason Taylor, projected fringe first-round pick, athletic, 3-year starter related to the Jets, semi. On top of that, big fan of Arian Smith. He's got speed, gets open, just can't catch the ball.
That's
on top
a problem.
of that,
fits right in with the Jets.
Yeah, but there's potential. And on top of that, the last 3 picks, they fill up the defense, get some depth pieces that they needed that they didn't have last year.
I like the pick of Malachi Moore. I thought that was a good pick for them. All righty, let's go to losers here. I'm starting off with the Steelers. It's not necessarily who they drafted. It's who they didn't draft. They needed a quarterback. They waited to the 6th round to get Will Howard, and they passed on Shedeur Sanders 3 separate times. I thought that was a mistake. You know, you look at Derek Carr, you look at Caleb Johnson, you look at Jack Sawyer. You know, all 3 needs for what the Steelers had to address. But the biggest need was quarterback. And I know Aaron Rodgers is probably coming, but that's a 1-year marriage. So I thought them passing on Shedeur Sanders was a mistake. That's why I make them a loser in the draft. Samter?
I'm going to go quick here. I looked at the Atlanta Falcons. At first, I had them a winner after day 1 because they got Jalen Walker and James Pierce. But as I look back deeper, what they gave up to move up to get Jalen Pierce.
Oh, you didn't like that?
Yeah,
James Pierce. Yeah.
James Pierce. At first, I was fine with it because you get 2 star edge rushing players that can get to the quarterback and make plays. But they gave up a 2nd and next year's 1st to move up like 20 spots for Pierce, who also has like plenty of personality and off-field issues. So what they gave up was kind of an issue. Xavier Watson in the 3rd round, I like him. Great player. I think that was a good value pick. But I think the other reason why they're a loser, this whole Jackson-Jeff Ulbrich drama, it just puts the Falcons in a bad light. It was just a bad weekend overall for the Falcons. Bad PR on the trade, bad PR on the prank call. Just a bad weekend for the Falcons.
Botcher.
I'm going with the Minnesota Vikings. They just didn't do anything that of note. Not to hate on their draft in general.
They didn't have a lot of picks.
Yeah, they had 2 6th, the 5th, the 3rd, and the 1st. They took Donovan Jackson from Ohio State to fill in the line because they need that. But other than that, Ty Felton, the wide receiver, you really didn't need a receiver in Minnesota. It's just with how little they had, they didn't do much with it. So I don't think it was a good draft.
All righty, my last loser here. I'm going with the Saints. So you get Kelvin Banks. I know they're not going to, Penning's not going to last long for there, but I didn't think that was their first need. We talked about offensive line, but I thought they should have gone one of the big defensive players that were still available there. Also, the quarterback you pick is Tyler Shuck, who's going to be 26 in September. I would have gone with Shedeur Sanders. So I don't hate the player, but I thought they could have used the 9th pick in a better area. And then their 2nd pick going with Tyler Shuck just is not good with me. So, Samter, who's your loser?
This is the first non-team I'm going with. I'm going with Dylan Gabriel / Shedeur Sanders. The fact that both of these guys got drafted by the same team who already has 2 quarterbacks and a 3rd quarterback under contract who's hurt but also still there. These are 2 guys who probably... Shedeur definitely would have been fighting for a starting job at most other places. Dylan Gabriel could have had a chance at a backup or even a starting job depending on where he went and how he played. Both of these guys are really, at this point, going to be battling for a 3rd string.
Yeah, I actually think Dylan Gabriel's a winner. He was a 3rd-round pick, and I felt like I was on an island when I said he's a top 5 quarterback in this draft class, putting him in at 4. I thought he was going to go maybe the 5th or 6th round at the earliest. I still think both of these guys are going to make the roster. I think Gabriel's going to make the roster. I think Shedeur's going to make the roster. And then you take a look at the other 3 quarterbacks. Deshaun's not going to be healthy enough anyway for week 1, and he's never playing again. I do believe that last spot's going to come down to, and it could end up being who the starters. I shouldn't say last spot. One of those guys is going to be the odd man out between Joe Flacco and Kenny Pickett. So I would actually make Joe Flacco or Kenny Pickett. Whoever loses that job may be a loser from draft weekend, because we all thought they would both be on the roster. And we haven't heard from Chris in California today, so he may be in mourning. That is a possibility. All righty, Botcher, give me the last one here.
Green Bay Packers. They took 2 wide receivers with 2 of their first 3 picks. Don't understand it. Jaden Reed, Romeo Dobbs.
They don't have a number 1 wide receiver.
I just don't understand it.
The Packers haven't taken a wide receiver in the 1st round since 2002. It was a great moment from the draft. I don't know if Matthew Golden's that dude, to be clear, but I'm surprised by this. They need wide receiver help.
I just think they have so many depth receivers that
They
fill
have
out
so
that
many
roster.
number 2 wide receivers.
Hey,
Not
a lot of
ones.
2s can equal a 1.
They still may have a bunch of 2s, honestly. I
just
don't
think
know if Matthew Golden's a 1.
Their O-line and their corners, they need a little bit more there. I just don't think taking 2. You didn't have to take 2 receivers in the first 3 rounds.
They did take an offensive tackle from NC State, Anthony Belton, in the second round, but I had no problem with addressing offense for the Green Bay Packers because you got to get the most out of Jordan Love, the quarterback, because this is a big year for him. All righty, we'll take a break. We'll come on back. Who are the top 10 selling jerseys, highest selling jerseys from the NFL draft? There's already stats out on this. And also, there's one man when he speaks, you should never take him seriously again. And he is not named Ryan Botcher. He is not named Michael Samter. And he is not named Stu Kovacs. I will tell you who that person is when we come on back. Update time first. Here's Zach.
Infinity Sports Network, Sports Flash.
I hope it's not me. The Bucs' worst fears were realized. Well, you never know. Wouldn't be the first time. The Bucs' worst fears were realized with confirmation that Damian Lillard has a torn Achilles, according to ESPN. The injury occurred during the first quarter of yesterday's loss. The Bucs now face elimination down 3-1 to Indiana and are now without one of their stars for not only the remainder of this year, but most likely next year as well. The Warriors host the Rockets up 2-1 in their first-round series. Jimmy Butler is expected to play tonight, while Steph Curry picked up the slack for the Warriors when Butler was out. Houston head coach Ime Udoka waiting for someone on his team to step up behind Jalen Green.
It's something we've seen all year. Teams go after Jalen. Obviously had a big game last game, so we expected that coming in. And when you does his job and has 2 on the ball and gets it to guys, they have to make them pay behind it. So, nothing new as far as that. Like I said, teams have done it all year, and their gamble paid off. We didn't make them pay with that.
The first game of the night features the Cavaliers and Heat in Miami, which is looking to stave off elimination. USC commit Elijah Arenas expected to be released from the hospital this week with no major injuries. A son of former NBA star Gilbert Arenas involved in a one-car crash last week. Baseball, the Mets lead the Nationals 3-0 in the 6th. I'm Rick Jackson.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Hey, this is Howie. And this is Nick. From the Backstreet Boys. And you're listening to the Zach Gelb Show. And guess what? Zach is back. All right.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show.
Oh my God, we're back again.
Alrighty, it's time to answer Ask the Pros question of the day. It's brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Chris in Alaska. Alaska. Wonder what the temperature's like there. What do you think the temperature is like in Alaska right now? Just wondering. You had to take a guess.
Almost the summer. Let's go 56.
Oh my goodness gracious. 74 degrees today?
There you go.
Is that right?
I think it depends on where in Alaska, though. If you're like the super northern, like North Pole part of
never
Alaska.
mind. Sorry. I wrote Tempe in Alaska.
You got Tempe, Arizona?
Yeah, but that doesn't seem, I feel like it's got to be hotter there. But 45 degrees today in Alaska. Anyway, question from Chris in Alaska. Maybe Chris in California moved to Alaska after finding out Kenny Pickett may not be that guy with the Cleveland Browns. Who will win Offensive Rookie of the Year coming off the draft? You can submit a question by tweeting at INF SportsCenter at Zach Gelb using the hashtag AskThePros. Stick around Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get guaranteed low prices and excellent customer service from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts. O'Reilly Auto Parts. I'm going Ashton Jeanty. 2 reasons. Number 1, I think he's now the face of the Raiders offense. I know they have Brock Bowers, but Brock Bowers needs to depend on Geno Smith for him to get the football. For Ashton Jeanty, all he needs is Geno Smith to just hand him off the football instead of throwing him the football. And Geno Smith's like anywhere, 15th to 17th best quarterback in football. At times, it looks like he's the 12th best quarterback in football. I think it's designed for Ashton Jeanty to have a monster season in year 1. And also, Hickey said it's the worst pick of the first round. So therefore, we know how this works. Ashton Jeanty is going to win Offensive Rookie of the Year. Santer, who's your offensive rookie of the year?
I was going to go with somebody else, but once you told me that Hickey said that Jeanty's not going to be, is the worst pick, then I think I have to, go with your own pick. Jeanty, too. Just anything anti-Hickey.
You can't give me a different one here?
I am going to give you a different one. I'm just joking.
Yeah.
I was just trying to troll Hickey.
I know, but you guys have like a history, you and Hickey.
Yeah,
I feel like there's animosity, some serious beef in the streets with the two of you.
Listen, I'm going to take the high road. It's not that we don't like each other. It's just, we've never really seen eye to eye. And I respect him as a broadcaster, respect him as a producer, but, we just we don't agree on how we approach life and friends and family and radio. So, it's just that.
All right. What's your name?
And I'm smarter than him, better looking.
Okay, what's your name?
I'm going to go Travis Hunter. I'm going to say Travis Hunter.
Ooh.
What's going to happen is he's going to do enough on defense and he's going to be really good on offense that they don't want to shut him out of the award. So they're going to give him.
Could he win offensive and defensive rookie of the year?
I don't think he's going to win both. I think Abdul Carter's going to win defensive. I think that Travis Hunter is going to win offensive because they're going to have to give him something for doing both.
Gotcha. Botcher, give me a name here.
Cam Ward.
There we go. I thought that, when in doubt, take the quarterback. All righty. So, Botcher, I gave you a little homework assignment here, and it was a quick homework assignment. I just saw this from ESPN Cleveland. Top 10 best-selling jerseys from the 2025 NFL Draft. Do you have 10 names?
I do. I have a question first,
yes.
though. Are there non-first-round picks in here?
One.
Okay.
And if you can't guess this one.
Well, I know that. I was just trying to make sure because usually they don't sell jerseys for players who aren't taken in the first round and for a little bit later. So I was just trying to make sure.
Okay.
But okay. Knowing this, it's completely different.
Okay.
I think Travis Hunter still is number 1.
Correct.
I think Ashton Jeanty is 2.
Wrong. Ashton Jeanty is 4th.
4th. Okay. I would say Shedeur would be 3.
Correct.
Cam Ward would probably be at 2 now.
Correct.
Okay, Abdul Carter.
Where do you think he is?
Well, for you, be 5. 5.
7th.
7th. Jackson Dart.
He is there. Just what's one better than 7?
6.
Correct.
Okay. Will Campbell.
No.
No. Okay. Tyler Warren.
The jerseys would be too short in the arms for Will Campbell.
I think Tyler Warren would be there. The Penn State connection.
9th.
9th.
There are 3 people you have not said yet.
Okay. Mason Graham?
No.
No, okay. Tedero McMillan?
Yes, 5th. You got to get
Golden?
2. Oh, sorry. You haven't said there's then 3 names you still haven't said. Matthew Golden, yes, 8. There's 2 more that you're missing.
I feel like I counted to I got Hunter.
You have Travis
Jeanty,
Hunter.
I think he's missing
Ward.
1.
No, he's missing.
I thought I missed 1.
Did you say wait?
Jeanty, Hunter, Ward, Carter, Dart, Shedeur, Warren, McMillan.
Oh, sorry. You said Tyler Warren?
Yeah.
Okay, you're missing 1 then. So you have Travis Hunter's 1, Cam Ward's 2, Shedeur Sanders 3. This is their actual results. Ashton Jeanty 4, Tedero McMillan 5, Jackson Dart 6, Abdul Carter 7, Matthew Golden 8, Tyler Warren 9. Could you get me the 10th one?
Loveland.
Yes.
Okay.
He is in at 10. Not a bad job there. That's a pretty good job there
It's
by
actually
Ryan
pretty
Botcher.
impressive that he got not only all 10 names, but most of them in order.
That's why I call him the Jimmy Neutron of Sports Talk Radio.
Nobody likes defensive players. Or offensive linemen.
Also, it's just like, all right, Travis Hunter does kind of count as a defensive player. Mason Graham, yeah, he does. He's a DB and a wide receiver.
Nobody looks at him as like, that's my starting corner.
What are you
saying? That's my Heisman winner. That's my starting wide receiver now.
He's gonna
He's gonna play both, but like in the perspective, nobody thinks he's a corner first. You see wide receiver highlights.
A lot of teams would make him a corner first, then wide receiver. Just you do you. We gave you 1 homework assignment. We didn't give you 2. Just do 1. All righty. I teased this before the break. So Samter and I got in a pretty good debate when Myles Garrett said to one of my favorites ever, Andrew Siciliano, like, I know what the Browns' plan is at quarterback. It's enough for me to re-sign here. What plan was that, buddy? The Browns don't have a plan at quarterback. You got Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett, also Dylan Gabriel, and Shedeur Sanders. Oh, and you have Deshaun Watson. So what was the riveting plan that the Browns told you? And I remember Samter and I got into this, and I said it's a bunch of bullcrap. The plan that the Browns gave him was, here's a bag of cash where it's $40 million a year. It's a big, beautiful bag of cash. And that's the only reason why Myles Garrett is staying in Cleveland. Just like and I'm fine with that, but Myles Garrett tells us, it's all about winning. No, it was all about money. That's what he told us at the Super Bowl. This is not about money. It was all about money. And then he was crazy enough to try to sell us that the Browns told him there's this big, bold plan happening in the draft or in the offseason, and now they got 5 quarterbacks on the roster. Watson, injured, washed up. Joe Flacco, old. Kenny Pickett, not that good. Dylan Gabriel, a 3rd-round pick, and then Shedeur Sanders, a 5th-round pick. Now, hey, maybe they told him they were getting Shedeur. They didn't lie to him. And I think Shedeur could be very good in the league, but geez, don't sell me on this baloney. Absolute hogwash baloney jackassery that the reason why Myles Garrett stayed was because the Browns had some grand plan for him at the quarterback position.
You don't think they told him, hey, we're going to go with Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett, pick an undersized quarterback in the 3rd round, and then get a slipping Shedeur with personality issues?
And you know what he
on?
probably said? How is it any different than what's happened in my career in Cleveland up until this point? That's what he would have said. So show me the money. Maybe that's why. Yeah, they told him the plan. He goes, all right, show me the money. Give me more money and I'll stay. Fun show today. We'll be back tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific time. Big thanks to Botcher. Big thanks to Samter. And most importantly, big thanks to each and every one of you for tuning in, listening, watching, however you do consume the radio program. Have a great night, everybody. It's the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network at Zach Gelb on Twitter and Instagram, ZACHGELB. We out. Bye-bye. Peace.